Chapter 5203. Who are you? When the enchanted book immortal approached, Xiaohua stood in front of him and asked in the language of the hidden immortal continent. Why did you destroy the Dawn Rain continent? Why did you destroy the bloodline of the human race? Could it be that you are not a human? Ha ha ha. The enchanted book immortal laughed wildly. As the light and shadow flickered, two clear lights appeared. The clear lights landed on Xiaohua's golden body. The golden light of Xiaohua's golden body flickered like a candle in the wind. Who are you? Since you're the disciple of an immortal in the immortal world, and have the strength to ascend to the immortal world, why are you still here worrying about irrelevant things? Don't you know that ascension is about understanding karma? You're tainted with so much karma. How can you get rid of the burden and ascend? As he spoke, the enchanted book immortal glanced at Huang Tong, Feng Wu, and Daoist Witch. He frowned and said, "The three of you are even weirder. Two of you have the body of a demon, and one of you is a taboo of the witch tribe. Why are you following this Taoist cultivator to cause trouble here? Also, why does your essence qi look so similar to this human cultivator? If it weren't for your strength surpassing this Taoist cultivator, I would have treated you as one." Essence? Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He seemed to have understood something. Essence was not something that mortal cultivators could know. Xiaohua had learned it from the mouth of the unrestrained heavenly demon in the ruins. He also knew that essence was the foundation of a cultivator's cultivation, and the most important foundation for cultivating a clone. In particular, Xiaohua had not heard this term from Suji and Fairy Xingyu. Therefore, he was certain that not many immortals in the immortal world knew about essence energy. Since the demonized book immortal had mentioned essence energy, he must have obtained a secret technique related to essence energy. Xiaohua even boldly speculated that the demonized book immortal's blood sacrifice in the immortal world and the Dawn Rain continent might have been for essence energy. So Xiaohua asked tentatively, "What is essence? Who are you? How can you understand my language?" The enchanted book immortal asked. "And you have the opportunity to meet an immortal who has a grudge with me?" Xiaohua pondered for a moment and replied, "This poor Taoist has never changed his name, nor has he changed his surname. May I know your name?" The enchanted book immortal chuckled and said, "You're quite thoughtful. You seem to want to know more about me. I don't mind telling you that my name is Inkue." Inkue. Xiaohua hurriedly tried to recall this name from the ancient records of Confucian cultivators. Unfortunately, before Xiaohua could think of anything, Inkue asked again, "Since you are the disciple of those two immortals, let me ask you, where are they now?" Xiaohua did not answer immediately. Instead, he collected his thoughts and looked straight at Inkue. He knew that the reason why Inkue had told him so much, and even told him his name, was because he wanted to know the whereabouts of Su Ji and Fairy Xingyue. If he gave a bad answer, it might cause a bad reaction. However, Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh after thinking about it. At this point, do I still have a choice? Could it be that if he answered the book immortal well, he wouldn't have to fight the book immortal? Since this battle was unavoidable, why should he overthink it? Therefore Xiaohua said faintly, "I'm Xiaohua. Although I'm not the disciple of the two immortals, the two seniors have given me pointers in my cultivation. As for the two juniors, I don't want to hide it from them. They have already returned to the immortal world." Huh. Inkue laughed, but there was a hint of sadness in his laughter. He said, "In that case, what else do I have to worry about? Give me your lives." As he spoke, Inkue waved his hand and raised his sword. A sword intent that seemed to collapse instantly enveloped Xiaohua. Of course, as soon as the sword intent was born, the law of the realm fell again, weakening the unparalleled sword intent by more than 40%. Seeing the sword intent fall back into the law of the Dawn Rain continent, Xiaohua calmed down and said coldly, "Even if the two seniors of the immortal world are here, do you have any scruples? Don't you have any scruples when facing me? Where is the kindness in your heart?" "Haha, not bad, not bad." Inkue waved his sword and leisurely made a sword flower with his wrist. He laughed wildly and said, "Since I was able to injure them in the upper realm, why should I be afraid of them here?" Before Inkue waved his sword, the thunder immortal roared, "Little bastard, give me your life." Then Lei Tingzi waved his hand and took out the sword gourd. The layer of black and white brilliance that covered the sword gourd was clear and beautiful. As the Thunder Immortal made a hand seal and touched the sword gourd, a black and white object with a nose and eyes appeared. Swish! When the black and white object opened its eyes, a black and white light screen rushed out of the sword gourd, as if it wanted to cover the whole world. This light screen seemed to be able to split the heaven and earth. It tore Inkue's monstrous ferocious aura apart, and the black and white brilliance quickly and violently stabbed toward the top of Inkue's head. Hee, you can actually refine such a ferocious spirit-slaying light. It's really not easy. Inkue was not too surprised by the spirit-slaying light. He even said to the Thunder Immortal in a somewhat mocking tone, "However, if you want to use this thing to kill me, you're dreaming." As he spoke, Inkue slapped the top of his head. Boom, boom, boom. With a deafening roar, 5 streams of true chi gushed out like the Milky Way. What was special was that in the middle of the 5 streams of true chi, a half-petal-shaped scroll appeared. Although this petal-shaped scroll only had an outline and was only half a petal-shaped scroll, an incomparably vast aura gushed out from this outline. Kacha! Before the aura gushed out, the laws of heaven and earth fell, trying to imprison this aura that did not belong to the Dawn Rain continent. Seeing this, Inkue sneered and did not do anything. Swish! The scroll flipped, and the half-petal-shaped scroll opened and closed. The dense aura no longer gushed out violently. Instead, it spun and spread in all directions. As the aura spun, the 5 streams of true chi also changed rapidly, slowly turning into 5 huge whirlpools that spread out in all directions. Xiaohua's spirit-slaying light, which could tear heaven and earth apart, did not wait for it to fall on the top of Inkue's head. The entire black and white light screen twisted extremely, and when it barely fell, it fell on the half-petal-shaped scroll. Following the birth and death of the flower and the flipping of the scroll, the black and white spirit-slaying light could not pierce it no matter what. 3 flowers at once prominence. Xiaohua's Confucian cultivation had already reached the level of 5 qis unifying in origin. Moreover, his literary works were the works of many sages. Before seeing the 3 flowers at once prominence, Xiaohua might not have known that this was the 3 flowers at once prominence. However, when he saw the half-petal-shaped scroll on top of Inkue's head, he immediately knew that this should be the 3 flowers at once prominence cultivated by the Heavenly Quartz Book Immortals. Damn it! Seeing that the spirit-slaying light had no effect, the Thunderbolt Immortal was furious. He urged his magic power, and above the sword gourd, the black and white light screen spun rapidly. With a rumbling sound, the spirit-slaying light rushed out, almost covering the surrounding area of several hundred miles. Unfortunately, no matter how much the Thunderbolt Immortal urged, the spirit-slaying light could only hover above the outline of the petal-shaped scroll, like the spring breeze that cherishes flowers. In the end, it could not fall. I don't believe it. The Thunderbolt Immortal was even more furious. With a loud roar, he withdrew the spirit-slaying light. With a wave of his hands, lightning surged around his body. Countless lightning bolts turned into a giant hand that covered the sky and the earth, and fell down, trying to imprison Inkue. However, something happened that made Xiaohua even more dumbfounded. The Thunderbolt Immortal's invincible lightning hand had just fallen near Inkue when it suddenly began to be annihilated, like a decaying lightning flower, withered. What's going on? The Thunderbolt Immortal was completely dumbfounded. Xiaohua squinted his eyes. He had already understood what was going on. When the Thunderbolt Immortal's lightning hand fell, a strange fluctuation appeared around Inkue's body. This fluctuation was like a light shadow, invisible and intangible. When the lightning touched this light shadow, it immediately disappeared. Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat, and he asked indifferently, "It seems like you were hiding near the sword mound. No wonder the sword mound was not struck by lightning." "Haha, you have a good eye." Inkue did not deny it. He laughed and said, "This old man wanted to use the sword energy and evil energy of the sword mound to heal my injuries. Who would have thought that the sword mound would disappear for no reason? This is really disappointing." Speaking up to here, Inkue spun his hand and said, "However, this old man is also very lucky to have another kind of luck. And now you have delivered yourself to me. Presumably, you are cultivators who have already touched the laws of heaven and earth. You are more useful than ordinary cultivators in the mortal world, right? While speaking, Inkue pushed the Confucian crown on his head. Boom, boom, boom. Another 5 muffled sounds were heard. 5 pure Xiantian true qi spurted out and fell on the half petal. Swish. That half petal was like a butterfly spreading its wings. On the scroll, golden and dazzling inscriptions surged out. Although the laws of heaven and earth kept falling, these inscriptions still disappeared in the 5 huge whirlpools. Woo-woo. At the same time, a strange clear light flew out from the whirlpools. Following the clear light were tens of millions of inscriptions of different sizes. These inscriptions were different from the golden and dazzling inscriptions from before. They were 9 different colors. These inscriptions seemed to have a life of their own. They flew everywhere with great spiritual energy, and wherever they landed, they tore apart the light curtain emitted by the whirlpools. Stars appeared one after another. These stars were abnormally bright. Mountains gushed out one after another. These mountains were graceful spirit bell spirits. Rivers flowed by, and these rivers were crystal clear. Not good. Xiaohua was shocked. His figure flashed, and he seemed to fly away. However, when he saw that the stars were high and the sky was boundless, Xiaohua smiled bitterly. The Book Immortal was indeed the Book Immortal. He was not someone a cultivator in the mortal world could compare to. In just a moment, he had already fallen into the Book Immortal's domain. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support. Vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark and reward. Thank you for all kinds of support. Thank you to Alliance Master Daoist Xiao, Yi no Joy no Sorrow, Kai Gue Han, and other fellow Taoists for their rewards. Chapter 5204. Xiaohua pondered for a moment, and was about to land. Boom, boom, boom. There was another roar from the ground. The snow region collapsed and the sky patrolling city collapsed. Waves of noble spirit gushed out with the inscriptions on the armor. In just a moment, the realm of vicissitudes had appeared within tens of thousands of miles. Moreover, under the mountain walls, faint starlight poured out from time to time. In the brilliant Milky Way, the capital star formation formed by more than 100 scattered nascent souls decorated it like stars. The karmic fire of the red lotus was like a star flame, bright red. Haha, the world is vast, and all the land belongs to the king. All the people on the land are the king's subjects. Xiaohua, seeing that I'm here, why don't you surrender? Inkue laughed. Under the light of the stars and moon, an emperor's outfit appeared. This emperor's outfit was similar to the one Xiaohua had seen before, but there were some black threads on the side of the mountains and rivers. However, even so, Inkue's appearance was still covered by the pearl crown. Xiaohua's Dharma eyes could not see through it. Moreover, as Inkue laughed, the emperor's qi rushed towards Xiaohua like a tide. If an emperor's heart is for the people, even if he is high up in the palace, the people will still have him. If an emperor's heart is not for the people, even if he is the son of heaven, the people will still kill him. Xiaohua said coldly. You must know that water can carry a boat, but it can also sink it. Oh. Inkue was stunned and said in surprise, this is the way of the king of Confucian cultivators. How can an unorthodox Taoist like you know? So what if I know? So what if I don't know? The Thunderbolt Immortal laughed and raised his hand, holding the heaven-reaching staff in his hand. He said arrogantly, I knew that killing you is the real way of the king. As he spoke, the Thunderbolt Immortal's body swayed and rushed towards Inkue. He has the emperor's qi, and I have all the people. Who can I be afraid of? Huang Tong also laughed. She flapped her wings and a strong and strange soul force rushed out and attacked Inkue. Feng Wu sneered and flapped her wings. Boom, boom, boom. Countless cracks appeared in the starry sky as the true power of the stars and the moon shattered the vast space. Then as Feng Wu waved her sharp claws, she attacked Inkue. When he looked at Daoist Witch again, a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. His body began to manifest, and a huge human face and snake body appeared. Wasn't that the Torch Dragon Wizard body? The Torch Dragon Shaman body was crimson red, and there were faint images of the sun and the moon rotating around its body. Its sharp claws had already transcended space, and were thrusting toward the back of Inkue's head. Hee, you are indeed powerful. Inkue sneered. Facing 4 powerful opponents whose strength surpassed the laws of heaven and earth, he did not panic at all. He raised his hand and pushed his pearl crown again. Boom, boom, boom. 5 deep roars sounded, and 5 streams of natal vital chi of different colors rushed into the sky. The 5 streams of natal vital chi were distorted in the sky, and they did not stop at all. They rushed into the vortex in the sky that was gradually disappearing. When the natal vital chi disappeared, buzz, buzz, buzz. Buzzing sounds were heard again, and 5 streams of great chi fell, blocking the thunderbolt immortal, Fengwu, Huangtong, and Daoist witch. One of them even fell in front of Xiaohua. The great chi streams quickly converged and formed into 5 chi doppelgangers that looked exactly like the book immortal in the blink of an eye. Of course, these 5 doppelgangers were completely different from the previous 5. The aura around them was only slightly weaker than that of Inkue, and was almost the same as that of the Thunderbolt Immortal. How dare you compete with me, a country bumpkin? Facing the Thunderbolt Immortal, the Book Immortal snorted, and his clothes were revealed. As he waved his hand, several streams of great chi were generated from the void, and they fell in the air and condensed into a sword. This sword was exactly the same as the one in Inkue's hand, and it shone with a colder light. Streaks of bloody aura were emitted from the sword, and no one knew how many lives had been killed by this sword. Do you have the guts to be a noble? Today, I will kill you, you little bastard, and become a noble myself. The Thunderbolt Immortal was indeed someone who had quarreled with Wenchu before, and he was able to come up with a counterattack. The heaven-reaching staff tore through the void and smashed toward the sword-wielding Book Immortal. The sword-wielding Book Immortal waved his sword proudly and rushed forward to meet the attack. Puff! As expected, when the heaven-reaching staff hit the sword, a yellow light appeared on the sword. The light was shattered, and so was the sword. However, just as the light was shattered, countless streams of great chi condensed, and the sword was reformed in an instant. The Thunderbolt Immortal knew that this was the effect of Inkue's space domain. He smiled bitterly in his heart, and he could only shake the heaven-reaching staff in his hand. The end of the staff shook, and it smashed toward the sword-wielding Book Immortal's shoulder. The sword-wielding Book Immortal was Inkue's doppelganger. Seeing the change in the staff's tail, he did not hesitate to shake his sword, and a sword flower appeared at the tip of the sword. The sword quickly flew over, and tried to block the heaven-reaching staff. Right at this moment, the Thunderbolt Immortal grinned hideously. He shook his left hand, and the sword gourd flew out again. Whoosh! The black and white curtain of light soared into the sky again, and an overwhelming aura of life and death fell on the sword-wielding Book Immortal's head. Unexpectedly, the sword-wielding Book Immortal slapped his own head when he saw the spirit-slaying light falling on him. Boom! 5 streams of true chi similar to Inkue's gushed out. They were not as rampant as Inkue's Xiantian true chi, but the outline of a half-petal-shaped scroll was also revealed. The spirit-slaying light was blocked by the petals again. Damn it! The Thunderbolt Immortal completely gave up on the idea of using the spirit-slaying light. He cursed in a low voice and sent the sword gourd into Xiaohua's space. In front of Xiaohua stood another doppelganger of the Book Immortal. This doppelganger was holding an axe, and it looked similar to the one Xiaohua had met before. However, Xiaohua did not pay attention to this doppelganger. Instead, he squinted his eyes and looked at Inkue and the other fighting groups. Seeing that Xiaohua did not make a move, the axe-wielding Book Immortal did not dare to act rashly. He vigilantly released a magical power similar to divine thoughts and watched carefully. The other 3 Book Immortals were similar to the doppelganger of the Book Immortal that had appeared in the punishment array. One of them held a flute and fought with Fengwu, while the other one held a bow and arrow and fought with Huangtong. These 2 fights were very normal and there was no clear winner or loser. However, the Book Immortal with the head of a man and the body of a horse was now crazily colliding with the candle dragon that was transformed by Daoist witch. They were like meteors tearing through the sky, and half of the vast space was filled with their crazy surging great chi. Whether it was Daoist witch or the centaur Book Immortal, Flesh and blood were torn apart from time to time. However, in such a tragic situation, Xiaohua could still see that Taoist which had the upper hand. He was just using the power of the Centaur Book Immortal to find out how to break the space that was condensed by Yin Kuei. Xiaohua's gaze moved from the battle to the axe-wielding Book Immortal in front of him, and his eyes revealed a thoughtful look. He had already understood that the 5-Qi doppelganger in the punishment array was just the condensation of the 5 doppelgangers of Yin Kuei, and it might even be the condensation of the 5 doppelgangers. The 5 doppelgangers in front of him were the real doppelgangers of Yin Kuei. Judging from the strength of the 5 doppelgangers, Yin Kuei must have obtained some kind of secret technique that allowed him to learn the profound meaning of doppelgangers. He started to cultivate from the profound qi, and that was how he was able to create 5 powerful doppelgangers. In other words, Yin Kuei and Xiaohua had similar opportunities. However, Xiaohua had obtained the profound qi from the heavenly demon of freedom, while Yin Kuei had to use evil means to collect the profound qi from other creatures. Feeling that the Thunderbolt Immortal had sent the sword gourd back into the vast space, Xiaohua stopped thinking and slightly raised his head. Seeing Xiaohua move, the axe-wielding Book Immortal trembled. Obviously, he was frightened by Xiaohua's previous killing. Like a frightened bird, he roared and rushed toward Xiaohua. Humph! Xiaohua snorted coldly and waved his hand to take out the Kunlun mirror from the vast space. Ha! Yin Kuei had already taken the initiative, so he was not in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he was observing the battle like Xiaohua. Now that he saw Xiaohua take out the Kunlun mirror, he was not surprised. He asked curiously, "You can still use the storage device?" Xiaohua frowned. He knew that Yin Kuei's vast space had sealed the storage pouch and other items. However, the vast space was sealed by the qi of nature. It was not comparable to the colorful seashell's vast space, so Xiaohua's vast space could still be used. Xiaohua ignored Yin Kuei. Under the stimulation of his magic power, the celestial being revealed his Dharma body. He flew out while shaking his head. Then he swung his fist and smashed it toward the axe-wielding Book Immortal. Ah! Not only was the axe-wielding Book Immortal shocked, but Yin Kuei was also surprised. Although the axe-wielding Book Immortal was stunned for a moment, he did not dare to hesitate. He still chopped down with his axe. The celestial being was also not afraid. He met the attack with his bare hands. Boom! Amidst the explosion, the celestial being's fist was not damaged at all. However, the axe-wielding Book Immortal's axe was smashed into pieces. The axe-wielding Book Immortal was caught off guard. The celestial being even more despicable. He lifted his foot and kicked the axe-wielding Book Immortal's nose. Roar! The axe-wielding Book Immortal was shocked. He quickly retreated, and half of his body even disappeared into the void. He wanted to avoid this humiliating kick. Unfortunately, the celestial being didn't show any mercy. His foot chased after the axe-wielding Book Immortal for several hundred kilometers like a shooting star. Finally, it landed on the axe-wielding Book Immortal's nose with a puff sound, dispersing the black mist on his face. Damn it! Although the axe-wielding Book Immortal was not injured, this humiliation was deeply engraved in his heart. He cursed angrily and waved his axe again to fight the celestial being. I underestimated you. Yin Kuei saw that the axe-wielding Book Immortal and the celestial being were far away from each other. He withdrew his gaze and looked at Xiaohua, who was facing him directly. He said meaningfully, "I didn't expect you to have the Kunlun mirror." "You should have known." Xiaohua looked at the Kunlun mirror and sneered. "It's just that you have 5 clones, so you don't care about I at all." Aha! Yin Kuei waved his hand and raised the sword once again. Countless mighty energy pillars smashed down, and countless sword wills gushed out of the sword like 100 flowers blooming at the same time. Then, Yin Kuei's proud and wild laughter could be heard. "That's right. In my eyes you are nothing but an ant. You're not worthy of my attention at all. You can thank you to the Alliance Masters, Mei Xianjun and Kai Guanhuan for their tips." Chapter 5205. Facing such a Yin Kuei, Xiaohua couldn't help but think of the Confucian emperors he met before. Normally, he wouldn't hesitate to release Jiuzhou Cauldron. Even if when Chu was here, he would also release Heaven and Earth Pagoda. In the etiquette of Confucian cultivators, there was a strict distinction between heaven, earth, ruler, parents, and teacher. However, Xiaohua didn't dare to try facing the demonized Book Immortal of the Heavenly Court. Not to mention that this was the Book Immortal's space domain. The countless stars in the sky were like melodies, and the countless clear streams on the ground were like vast rivers. Just the Book Immortal's unpredictable 3 flowers at one's prominence was enough to make Xiaohua unsure who would be suppressed in the end if he used the 9 continents' cauldrons. Since that was the case, Xiaohua didn't intend to reveal his Confucian cultivator's divine ability. As he rubbed his hands, countless thunderbolts surged. He wanted to condense 5 big thunderbolts to block the sword. However, as soon as the thunderbolts of various colors surged out, they were immediately annihilated. Only then did Xiaohua come to his senses. He hurriedly withdrew and prepared to dodge the sword light. Whoosh! The sword light seemed to be far away, but with a wave, it actually surpassed the limit of space and appeared above Xiaohua's head like a waterfall. A bone-piercing cold force had already shrouded Xiaohua. Not to mention Xiaohua's blood vessels being shackled. Even the magic power around his body was frozen. Xiaohua hurriedly raised his hand, and the Kunlun mirror's light pillar surged out. Boom! It broke through the air and met the sword. Buzz! The sword slashed down and landed on the light pillar. With a sudden roar, the sword actually cut into the light pillar. Xiaohua felt the Kunlun mirror in his hand suddenly become heavy. Then the light pillar was cut in half by the sword light and collapsed with a loud bang. Xiaohua was shocked. He hurriedly moved his body and wanted to teleport. Unfortunately, before he could activate his magic power, he felt that the space around him was like a solid barrier, preventing him from teleporting. Xiaohua frowned. Looking at the raging waves of righteous qi around him, he immediately activated Wind Escape. Whoosh! Xiaohua's body floated more than 10 miles away. Ha! Inkue was stunned again. While the sword in his hand chased, he raised his left hand and a bow appeared out of thin air. Kachacha! As expected, several layers of the laws of heaven and earth fell and covered the bow. Inkue grinned coldly. From his left arm, a few golden beams shot out, landing on the bowstring and instantly forming into a small golden arrow. As Inkue pulled back his left arm, it was as if another invisible arm was pulling the bowstring, causing it to produce a creaking noise. Along with the noise, a strange phenomenon occurred within tens of miles to the left. Thousands of lights and shadows were twisting and distorting, and wisps of great energy that looked like crystals were seeping into the small arrow. Even the void was shrinking into the small arrow along with the strange phenomenon. Xiaohua trembled with fear when he sensed a sharp pain that pierced straight into his bone marrow, and even into his soul. He didn't hesitate in the slightest. His figure moved once more, and he flew high into the starry sky. You think you can leave? Inkue grinned coldly. Clang! The clear sound of the bowstring pierced straight into Xiaohua's ears. Woo! At the same time, a sharp whistling sound came from the bowstring. The small golden arrow paused for a moment, and soon after, a cluster of blurry lights and shadows appeared one after another, and the small golden arrow suddenly disappeared. Rumble! An extremely loud rumbling sound came from the void. Invisible waves seemed to collapse, and in the blink of an eye, they arrived at Xiaohua's back. Isn't this too powerful? Xiaohua felt that the void behind him, in front of him, and even to the left was cracking inch by inch. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. He forcibly resisted the urge to form an immortal seal, and pushed the wind escape technique to the extreme. Wong! A loud rumbling sound came from the left, and then it suddenly disappeared. A cluster of bright and dark light appeared in front of Xiaohua's eyes, and a colorless, invisible sharp object stopped at Xiaohua's back. Xiaohua didn't dare to hesitate. His figure swayed, and he fell into the cluster of light beside him. Swish! As if his body moved according to his heart's desire, Xiaohua's figure had just moved, and he had already fallen into the cluster of light. However, he only fell into the cluster of light. Wong! A loud rumbling sound came from the left. When the rumbling sound subsided a little, Xiaohua discovered that he was already very far away, and 1,000 miles to his left. Crack, 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 crack. The void rumbled unceasingly, and layers of golden brilliance filled the air. Lucky! Xiaohua knew that it was the small golden arrow that missed its target, and he couldn't help but cry out in his heart. What kind of escape technique is this? Before Xiaohua could steady himself, Inkue's surprised voice came from not far away. It's actually so powerful. Looking at Inkue's huge body swaying like smoke, Xiaohua glanced at his left hand with vigilance. Fortunately, the bow on his left hand was already gone, and the terrifying aura was also rapidly declining. Xiaohua let out a sigh of relief. He knew that even Inkue, the Heavenly Court's book immortal, couldn't casually use this shocking attack. Only then did he say coldly, "Our Taoism has a myriad of magical powers. How could a Confucian cultivator like you know them?" Haha, you're just a little cultivator who hasn't set foot in the immortal world of Taoism. And you still dare to be arrogant in front of me? Don't forget, I've also injured the immortals of the immortal world. Inkue laughed again. He raised his sword, and the sword slashed towards Xiaohua. Xiaohua hurriedly urged his magic power, and the Kunlun mirror once again produced a 5-colored light beam to meet the sword. Swish! Strangely, just as the sword touched the light beam immediately distorted, and the sword actually made a light whistling sound. At this time above Inkue's head, boom! A light beam that was exactly the same as the Kunlun mirror fell from the sky. Unfortunately, just as the light beam was produced, Inkue's figure flashed, as if he had already expected it. His left hand grabbed, and a fist-sized golden seal appeared in his hand, and he chanted a mantra. Woo! The golden seal flew obliquely and smashed behind the light beam. Ka. Under the suppression of the golden seal, hundreds of Xingming chains were produced, sealing the void. In the distorted void, Xiaohua's face was filled with disbelief. The dream mirage butterfly was flapping its dreamy wings, and it was resting on his shoulder. However, at this time, near the dream mirage butterfly, an indescribable fluctuation flickered, firmly sealing the dreamy light and shadow. Go! Seeing that Inkue had seen through his intention, Xiaohua hurriedly raised his hand and pointed, and the seal of overturning the sea broke through the void. Boom! The seal of overturning the sea hit the golden seal, and countless void folds rapidly appeared. Light and shadow flashed, and then the seal of overturning the sea was knocked back 100 li. Inkue looked at the seal of overturning the sea, then at the dream mirage butterfly on Xiaohua's shoulder. He was somewhat surprised and said, "You have a lot of tricks up your sleeve. I can't believe this spirit bird can confuse my heavenly eyes, and this spirit item can actually survive my golden seal. You have really made me look at you with new eyes. This fellow is too strong." Xiaohua sighed, and had no choice but to activate the Kunlun mirror. Roar! Reverend Yun gave a furious roar, swaying his dragon tail as he flew out of the light beam. Layers of dragon aura overflowed from where he landed, while wisps of dragon runes rushed out like swimming fishes, wiping out more than half of the mighty aura. Dragon clan? Inkue was struck dumb. Looking at Reverend Yun, whose dragon aura was as mighty as his, he could not help but cry out. There are dragons from the dragon realm in this Kunlun immortal realm? However, it was only a brief moment of surprise, as a golden light shone out from under his pearl crown. Then he was enlightened and said, "I understand now. This dragon is not a real dragon from the dragon realm, but one who is preparing to enter the dragon realm. Haha, this is wonderful. I'm just looking for a dragon to change my body, and you've delivered a dragon to me. Heaven is really at my will." Reverend Yun sneered as he thrust his dragon claw toward Inkue, unleashing a mighty dragon aura that suppressed the aura of an emperor. "So what if there are two of you?" Inkue showed no fear, as he took a step forward in midair. Boom! Another loud rumble echoed out. Countless golden threads were seen darting about in Inkue's body, which was shrouded in black smoke, while his body expanded rapidly. While Xiaohua was struck dumb with amazement, another head grew out from the back of Inkue's head, and another pair of arms and legs stretched out from it. Like a celestial being, Inkue had transformed into his nascent divinity Dharma idol with 2 heads and 4 arms. Boom! Inkue's nascent divinity Dharma idol was born with an axe in one hand. As it swung, it split the void and smashed toward Reverend Yun's sharp claw. As for the other nascent divinity Dharma idol, It unleashed a sword and a golden seal at Xiao Hua at the same time. This. Reverend Yun hesitated when he saw the huge axe was no match for Ing Kuei, wondering if he should take out the Pangu axe. But after a brief thought he gave up the idea. After all, they were not in a desperate situation yet, and the Pangu axe was a mighty weapon that could destroy the three peaks of heaven, earth, and man. Reverend Yun dared not to take the risk. Therefore Reverend Yun swung his dragon tail, sweeping across the void and smashing toward Ing Kuei's arm. Haha, another unarmed one. Ing Kuei laughed. Don't tell me you don't even have a handy dragon item? Before Ing Kuei's voice could fade away, a silver flute appeared in his other hand. As he waved the flute, strange noises could be heard. Even though Xiao Hua and Reverend Yun were strong, they still felt dizzy and their souls were about to shake. Damn it. Xiao Hua cursed under his breath as he retreated quickly. Once again he exercised the Kunlun mirror and called out, Namo Maitreya Buddha. Then a Buddhist chant that shook the heaven and earth was heard. Stepping on the nine-tiered lotus throne, he stepped out of the void with the pure water vase and Paramitha in his hand. No way. Seeing the appearance of the Buddha Maitreya Buddha, whose Buddhist light filled the entire space, and the sound of the wooden fish and the chanting of sutras pierced his ears like needles, Ing Kuei was completely dumbfounded. He murmured, There's another Buddhist disciple? However, when Ing Kuei saw the nine-tiered lotus throne of the Buddha Maitreya Buddha and the light behind his head, he exclaimed again, And he's a bodhisattva with the fruit of Buddha? Since when did the Buddhist sect exist on Dawn Rain continent? Not only was he shocked, but a golden light flashed in his pearl crown. He saw the Buddha lotuses and the light around the Buddha Maitreya Buddha overflowing with the river of faith. In the river of faith, worlds of all sizes were born, and there was no end to them. He groaned again. Damn it. Not only does he have the fruit of Buddha, but he's also a future Lord Buddha. P.S. To all the fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, or tip it. Thank you to the leader of Starry Sky reappears 8, and Yui no Joy. Chapter 5206. Namo Maitreya Buddha. Maitreya Buddha stepped out and chanted Buddha's name. Then he formed a seal with one hand and sent out the Buddhist mantra. Wu. The huge word swordsman spun in the air and smashed toward Ing Kuei. Maitreya Buddha was indeed the nemesis of Ing Kuei. Although it was only the Buddhist mantra and did not have any special magical power, under the Buddha's light, the black gas around Ing Kuei quickly converged and countless hair-like vortexes appeared on the surface of his body. The melody on the flute was suppressed by the Buddha's name and had long been annihilated. Xiao Hua was overjoyed. His figure flashed, and he was about to besiege Ing Kuei with Maitreya Buddha and world venerables. However, before Xiao Hua could get close, Ing Kuei's other face sneered. He waved his sword, and a shocking sword beam pierced through the air. Xiao Hua was helpless. As the Kunlun mirror swayed, the void shattered, and the power of space generated blocked the sword beam. Looking at Maitreya Buddha's mantra, Ing Kuei, who was a little frightened, waved his hand that was holding the flute. Woo-woo. The sound of ghosts crying and wolves howling came from his hand, and a red brilliance flew out. Within the brilliance, a blood-red skeleton was surrounded by the red lotus karmic fire. In its empty eye sockets, 2 scarlet spots shone greedily. Puff! The blood-red skeleton opened its mouth and spat out a stream of red lotus karmic fire, which turned into strange characters and met Maitreya Buddha's mantra of 9 syllables. When the red lotus karmic fire and mantra of 9 syllables collided, there was a strange sound. Then countless black threads of light and even fog appeared. Wisps of netherworld aura rushed out in an incredible way. When the red lotus karmic fire disappeared, the mantra of 9 syllables was also annihilated. Gag. The blood-red skeleton opened its mouth and shouted, "What a fat Buddha Lord! If I eat you, will I become a ghost master?" After that, the blood-red skull let out a roar that sounded like a dragon's roar, and turned into a blood column. One end of the blood column fell on Ing Kuei's arm, while the other end turned into a ghost head that pounced on Maitreya Buddha. Damn it! This bastard's red lotus hellfire doesn't belong to the Buddhist sect. Seeing how arrogant the blood-colored skeleton was and how it wasn't afraid of the Buddha's light, Xiaohua came to a realization and cursed inwardly. It's the red lotus karmic fire of the ghost cultivators. I'm afraid this skeleton isn't a simple skeleton. Otherwise, it would be impossible for it to not fear the Maitreya Buddha. The Maitreya Buddha has met his match. While Xiaohua was cursing inwardly, he roused his spirit and activated the Kunlun mirror. From time to time, he would also unleash the Tengjiao shears and fight against Ing Kuei. Among the 5 incarnations of Ing Kuei, the Book Immortal was fighting against Daoist Witch, the one with the flute was fighting against Phoenix Parasol, the one with the bow and arrow was fighting against Huang Tong, the one with the axe was fighting against Celestial, and the one with the sword was fighting against Thunder Immortal. These 5 Book Immortals and Xiaohua's 5 incarnations were fighting in 5 different directions. On the other hand, Ing Kuei's true form was his nascent divinity avatar with 2 heads and 4 arms, each holding a sharp weapon. The blood-colored skeleton was fighting against the Maitreya Buddha, the axe was fighting against Reverend Yun, and the other 2 arms were wielding a sword and a golden seal, smashing toward Xiaohua. Although Xiaohua had activated 2 spirit treasures, he was still not Ing Kuei's match. The Tengjiao shears could not stop the golden seal, and there were a few times when it almost hit Xiaohua's golden avatar. Even when the Tengjiao shears slashed at Ing Kuei's avatar, it failed to do anything. Xiaohua could not help but feel that he was at his wit's end. When he activated the Kunlun mirror and blocked Ing Kuei's golden seal, Xiaohua frowned and looked at the Celestial. The Celestial and the axe-wielding Book Immortal were fighting fiercely, and even the vast space in the sky was somewhat chaotic. A few stars surrounded both of them, pouring down an immense amount of noble energy to repair the space. The Celestial has 3 heads and 6 arms. If he is fighting against Ing Kuei's 2 heads and 4 arms, they should be able to complement each other. Xiaohua thought to himself. Of course, if the Maitreya Buddha and the world revered unleashed the Tree of 7 Wonders, Reverend Yun unleashed the Pangu axe, and I wielded the Slaughter Fiend saber, I think I can achieve victory with just one strike. But whether it is the Maitreya Buddha or the world revered or Reverend Yun, they will no longer be able to wield their magical items after the first strike. It will be a little troublesome to break the formation. But if I don't use these means now, it will be hard for me to fight against this fellow. Perhaps I have no choice but to summon the Slaughter Fiend? With that thought in mind, Xiaohua glanced at the space in the distance from the corner of his eyes, then retracted his gaze as if he was pricked by a needle. Fine, I'll summon the Slaughter Fiend then. Xiaohua clenched his teeth and thought to himself. Even if the Slaughter Fiend is a member of the Fiend race, compared to this Book Immortal who has turned into a fiend, he is no different from the Maitreya Buddha, and the world revered to the cultivators of Dawn Rain Continent. When Xiaohua pretended to activate the Kunlun mirror, his gaze swept past the water bottle in the hands of the Maitreya Buddha world-honored one. Xiaohua's eyes unconsciously lit up. His figure swayed, but he didn't make a sound. The Maitreya Buddha world-honored one received Xiaohua's instructions in his heart, and his figure also flew towards Xiaohua. When he got close, the Maitreya Buddha world-honored one raised his hand, and the water bottle fell into Xiaohua's hand. Oh, Ing Kuei had long been paying attention to Xiaohua and the Maitreya Buddha. Seeing the water bottle change hands, Ing Kuei was quite puzzled. However, the next scene made Ing Kuei's heart shrink. Xiaohua took the water bottle, raised his hand, and took out the willow branch. As he waved it, an invisible 10-colored rainbow bridge broke through the sky and fell, hitting the blood-colored skeleton. Although Ing Kuei did not know what this willow branch was, when the invisible rainbow bridge fell, he was instantly frightened. Almost without thinking, he shook, and the blood-colored skeleton on his left arm suddenly disappeared, as if it wanted to hide in the void. Unfortunately, even if the blood-colored skeleton disappeared, the 10-colored rainbow bridge still chased straight into the void. Puff! A very low sound came from the void, and then blood streaks flowed out like a spring. Within the blood streaks, countless black bubbles flew out and disappeared in the air. Ew! After the black bubbles, the blood-colored skeleton appeared with a howl. At this time, the blood-colored skeleton that was originally lingering around the skeleton had become abnormally dim. Even within the blood-colored skeleton, there were some cracks on the skeleton. What kind of spirit treasure is this? It seemed that Ing Kuei had never seen such a powerful spirit treasure in his life. he gasped, blocked Reverend Yun, Maitreya Buddha, and the Maitreya Buddha, then retreated quickly. He looked at Xiaohua in disbelief and asked. If it were before, Xiaohua would never have answered. However, at this moment, he was holding the willow branch calmly. With a proud look on his face, he looked down at Inkuei and replied indifferently, "What? Aren't you the book immortal of the heaven? I have so many helpers, but they are no match for you. Don't tell me you don't even know what this is?" Xiaohua could not see the expression on Inkuei's face, but there was already displeasure in his voice. "Ignorant boy," he said proudly. "How can you know what I've been through? Besides, how can you guess the vastness of this world with your current overall strength? There are too many secrets in this world that we don't know. What's so strange about me not knowing what you're holding in your hand? It's fine if you don't want to tell me, but when I kill you, won't it be mine?" Xiaohua did not answer Inkuei, but looked at the blood-red skeleton with great interest and asked, "If I'm not mistaken, this skeleton of yours should be a ghost cultivator, right?" Inkuei hesitated for a moment, as if he was unwilling to answer, but at last he nodded and said, "Yes, this is indeed a ghost cultivator." "Actually," said Xiaohua smilingly, "I'm not surprised to see a ghost cultivator, but I'm surprised to see you, a book immortal of the heaven, cultivate a ghost cultivator. And you have even refined this skeleton into one of your incarnations. That's even more shocking to me." Boom, boom, boom. Right after Xiaohua's voice faded away, the entire space began to tremble. The sky, earth, and rivers faded away like the twilight, revealing countless stars that looked like stars. Some were rich, some were thin, some were fresh, and some were decaying. Mighty auras of various colors poured down from these stars. "Xiaohua." Inkuei finally called out Xiaohua's name and asked word by word, "Who are you?" Xiaohua shrugged and said smilingly, "I'm Xiaohua. Aren't you hiding in the sword catacomb? I suppose you've heard of my name. No, you can't be a cultivator from Dawn Rain continent, and you can't even be a cultivator from the mortal world." Inkuei's voice turned cold as he asked in a low voice, "You? Which immortal realm are you the reincarnation of?" "Hee, you think too much." Xiaohua's expression remained unchanged as he said, "Well, let's make a simple deal. You answer my question, and I'll tell you what this thing is." "Fine, we'll do as you say." Inkuei glanced at Reverend Yin, Maitreya, and Buddha Zun, who had surrounded him. Xiaohua raised his voice and said, "Fellow Taoists, please wait for a moment. It's not too late to strike after I've asked." "Noisy," Reverend Yun said unhappily. "Let's finish this fellow quickly." Buddha Maitreya put his palms together and said in a low voice, "Namo Maitreya." "I don't understand." Xiaohua went straight to the point and asked, "You're a book immortal of the heaven, so how can you perform a blood sacrifice? And for your own personal gain? You even wounded an immortal from the immortal realm? If you tell me how you became possessed by the fiend, perhaps I can help you." Inkuei snorted coldly and said, "Who told you I became possessed by the fiend? Are you talking about those two chi immortals from the immortal realm? What a talkative fellow. How do you know that I'm now walking on a broad path, and that my previous cultivation is wrong?" Seeing that Inkuei refused to admit it, Xiaohua glanced at the battles in the distance and said with a smile, "Our Dao League has a technique of cloning. Normally 1 or 2 clones are the limit, and even an immortal can't have 5 clones, can he? But what is special is that the overall strength of your 5 clones is very similar to yours, which is very different from the technique of cloning. I suppose your blood sacrifice is related to this technique of cloning, right?" How did you know?" Inkuei was shocked, and he asked again in disbelief. "P.S. To all the fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a tip, and thank you Alliance Leader 375,655, and Kai Gui Han. Chapter 5207. Xiaohua rolled his eyes and said with a smile, "Of course I didn't know before, but when I saw this blood-red skull and the red lotus hellfire, I suddenly remembered that I once obtained a pitch-black spiritual item in my early years. It recorded the 7-eyed beautiful passion flame and the myriad strands technique. Isn't it similar to your Red Lotus Hellfire and the Ghost Cultivator's doppelganger technique? I see. Inkue understood. After thinking for a moment, he nodded and said, In that case, tell me what spiritual item you have first, then I'll explain it to you. It's a Buddhist item in my hand. Xiaohua raised his hand, and the blood-red skull quickly dodged in fright. A Buddhist item? Inkue was even more confused and asked curiously, You're a Taoist cultivator. How can you activate such a powerful Buddhist item? This seems to be the second question. Xiaohua said indifferently, Why don't you tell me about your doppelganger technique first? All right. Inkue didn't know if he really wanted to know the origin of Paramitha, or if he wanted to take the opportunity to repair the ghost cultivator's doppelganger, so he answered in a low voice, I'll explain it to you. When I was on duty in the heavenly court, I was ordered to go to the taboo star field to kill the ghosts. However, when I killed the 4 ghosts, I accidentally obtained a broken lonely leaf. The myriad strands technique was recorded on it, just like what you know. At that time, I didn't care, but 1,000 years later, when I followed the great general of the West to quell the war in the Western Star Field, I saw many immortals who were about to die. These immortals couldn't be saved and could only wait for death, so I thought of the strange item needed for the doppelganger technique. By the time Inkue gave a simple explanation, Xiaohua had already understood that what Inkue needed was the energy essence. Just as he had expected, what Inkue was doing was not a real blood sacrifice, but just taking away the energy essence of the human race with the method of ghost cultivators. Xiaohua looked at the millions of human cultivators who were still protected by hundreds of scattered nascent soul cultivators in the distance, and said with a bitter smile, In that case, the strange item you need should only be found in the upper realm. The millions of humans on the Dawn Rain continent. Even if they're all sacrificed by you, I'm afraid it won't bring you much benefits. I didn't plan to sacrifice the humans on the Dawn Rain continent. Inkue said indifferently. If I wanted to, I would have killed all the Taoist cultivators on the Dawn Rain continent when I landed. It's just that I've started to awaken recently, so my avatars released their primordial spirits. Those avatars saw that the Fortune Gate's disciples were causing trouble with the Heavenly Patrol City's sword cultivators, so they came up with the idea on the spur of the moment, and wanted to contribute to me. That's great. Xiaohua rubbed his nose and said, Since they aren't enough to fill the gaps between your Excellency's teeth, could your Excellency please let them go? If it was before, I would have definitely let him go. There was a hint of mockery in Inkue's voice as he continued. If I were to release them now, I wouldn't even be a match for your Fortune Gate's hundreds of Ninth Tribulation scattered soul cultivators. So, tell me, can I let go? Xiaohua narrowed his eyes as he stared at Inkue and said threateningly, If I don't save those humans, can I ask all my fellow Taoists to work together and kill you first, then save those humans? Of course you can. Inkue acted as if Xiaohua wasn't talking about him and immediately replied. However, you have to consider this carefully. As long as the hundreds of scattered soul cultivators formation disappears, I can guarantee that these millions of humans will be instantly killed by me. Also, I want to tell you that a person should keep his word. Please tell me the origin of this thing before you act. Inkue's words were naturally what Xiaohua was worried about. The hundreds of Ninth Tribulation scattered soul cultivators were just enough to protect the millions of cultivators, so it wouldn't be enough to spare one more to help. Xiaohua pretended to ponder for a moment before saying, In fact, this thing isn't a Buddhist artifact, but a saint artifact. Saint artifact? Inkue was even more confused. What saint artifact? Where is it from? As soon as Inkue's voice fell, above the sky, behind the dozens of literati stars, layers of holy aura gushed out like a tide, followed by bursts of prayers and praises. In the midst of these sounds, cracks appeared in the vast space, and within them, countless olive branches, grapes, and other objects were revealed. What was special was that as the holy light shone down from the sky, boulders, streams of water, sharp swords, and cross-shaped stars were born. When the cross-shaped stars filled a corner of the sky and blocked the hundreds of literati stars, Zhang Jie flapped his transparent wings and flew out of one of the cross-shaped stars. At this time, Zhang Jie was singing praises, and as his wings flapped, a pleasant hymn sounded. Xiaohua had heard this hymn before, which was full of sorrow, sadness, disappointment, and helplessness. Moreover, the rhythm was getting lower and lower, and even the whole world was filled with despair. An angel of the holy light realm? Inkue couldn't imagine that there were two winged angels on the Dawn Rain continent. He couldn't help but exclaim, How is this possible? Then, Inkue looked at the willow branch in Xiaohua's hand and understood. He shouted, The saint artifact you mentioned. Is it the saint artifact of the holy light realm? Of course. Xiaohua proudly held the willow branch and sneered. If it's not the holy light realm's saint artifact, which realm's saint artifact can it be? Fellow Taoist. Zhang Jie flew down frowning. He looked at the black aura around Inkue with disgust, and then looked at Xiaohua. It was rare for him to call Xiaohua fellow Taoist, and he said, Why did you call me here? Is this demonized book immortal the key to breaking the array? Of course, Inkue was confused, but Xiaohua didn't explain. He pointed at Inkue and said, Zhang Jie, this man is a demonized book immortal from the heavenly court. He wants to sacrifice the Dawn Rain continent, where millions of humans live. What does this have to do with me? Zhang Jie said unhappily. Although I promised you, I will only help when you break the array. What does this book immortal have to do with me? Don't you want to comprehend the mystery of the Paramitha realm? Xiaohua waved the willow branch and said, As long as you help me, I promise to let you comprehend the Paramitha realm for 3 days. Really? When Zhang Jie heard this, his wings trembled, and countless praises sounded like war drums. Obviously, Zhang Jie was very excited. Damn it! Inkue was furious. Before Zhang Jie could make a decision, he waved his 4 arms, thrusting his sword, chopping his axe, and activating his golden seal. The bloody skull also spat out the red lotus karmic fire. Humph, damn evil creature. Zhang Jie was furious when he saw the ghost cultivator's red lotus karmic fire. How dare you use ghost arts in front of me? As he spoke, Zhang Jie waved his crystal-like arm, passing through the light and landed in front of Xiaohua. Xiaohua understood Zhang Jie's intention. Without any hesitation, he waved his hand and handed the Paramitha realm to Zhang Jie. Zhang Jie had just taken the Paramitha realm when her 2 7-layered wings spread open again. Layers of holy flames leaped out of the void like the sun, and a huge impatience flower appeared in front of Xiaohua. The petals of the impatience flower bloomed, and it was very dazzling. Zhang Jie's face was full of sincerity, and he was chanting in the holy language. As Zhang Jie waved the Paramitha realm, the impatience flower bloomed completely, and the 10-colored brilliance covered Zhang Jie's body. At the same time, an overwhelming holy energy rushed out of the Paramitha realm, and it rushed toward Inkue 10,000 times more ferocious than the heaven and earth overturning. Looking around, as the 10-colored brilliance shone, the noble chi within 10,000 miles disappeared, and everything was filled with holy light. A kind of transparency, a kind of mercy, a kind of forgiveness, and an incomparable love came from the holy light. Haha, Xiaohua, you've been tricked. Facing the holy power of Paramitha, Inkue was visibly moved, but he was also pleasantly surprised. As he laughed, he opened his mouth, and a stream of true energy with the outline of a petal fiercely fell into the void. Boom, boom, boom. Dozens of pillars of punishment once again rose from the left and right of Xiaohua and Inkue, firmly enveloping them. The holy light of Paramitha landed quietly on the pillars of punishment, and was unexpectedly dyed crimson by the light of the pillars of punishment. Xiaohua looked down at his feet in disbelief. The blood-soaked pillars of punishment slowly flew out and covered the space around him. He stuttered as he looked at Inkue. He really didn't expect Inkue's target to be him. Inkue glanced at Zhang Jie and the mysterious Paramitha realm, and a disdainful smile appeared on his face. He turned to Xiaohua and said with a smile, You didn't expect this, did you? You are my prey. I first set up a punishment array for you to break, then I set up a vast space. Finally, I dawdled with you for so long because I wanted you to fall into the real punishment array. Only this array can exchange your demigod bloodline for me. You. How did you know? Xiaohua couldn't believe his ears. This was one of his biggest secrets. Except for Elder Wu of Huta village, no one knew about it. Inkue raised his hand and pointed at the forehead of the bloody skeleton. The bloody skeleton opened its mouth, and an extremely dim bloody figure flew out from the skeleton's mouth. Wasn't it Xiaohua's appearance? Damn it! I understand now. Xiaohua cursed in a low voice. You got the drop of blood that I lost in the sword catacomb. Haha, that's right. Inkue laughed and clapped his hands. If it wasn't for your blood, how could I have woken up today? In my eyes, no human cultivator in the entire Xiaoyu continent is as precious as your drop of blood. I have planned for 1,000 years, and today, I can finally get what I want. If I devour your blood, I won't be able to cultivate to the supreme pure heaven immortal realm. While he was speaking, half of the scroll hanging above Ingsu's head fell down, and the execution platform appeared with a rumble. 81 pillars of punishment firmly bound Xiaohua's aura. Although the laws of heaven and earth were madly pouring down, the evil aura of heaven and earth above the execution platform suppressed everything and blocked the laws. Furthermore, each of the pillars of punishment once again produced 81 extremely thick chains of punishment, which covered the sky and covered the earth as they fell down, wanting to seal Xiaohua. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it and give it a tip. Thank you to Benben and Kai Guihun for their tips. Chapter 5208. Seeing the desperate situation, Xiaohua's eyes were filled with determination. He looked at Inkue and said, Don't think that you are the only one who is scheming. Don't you know that I am also waiting for an opportunity? What a coincidence. I fell into your trap, and now you are also in my jar. As he spoke, Xiaohua's arms emitted bright silver immortal qi, and he made several hand seals, which fell into the void. Clang, clang, clang. In the void around Inkue, the ear-piercing sound of swords rang out, and sharp sword intent rushed out, sealing the space around Inkue. When Inkue heard Xiaohua's words and saw Xiaohua use the hand seals, he was shocked. He had already activated the eye-clearing technique, but he could not see anything except the sword light. As for the sword light, Inkue was relieved. He laughed wildly and said, Ignorant child, don't you know that I, a Confucian cultivator, am also proficient in sword cultivation? What can you do to me with a flying sword? Just as Inkue said this, the void under his feet shattered, and a light shadow of more than 10 feet flew out from it. The light shadow flickered slightly, and a soaring sword intent was produced. Moreover, when Inkue's gaze fell on the light shadow, an illusion appeared in front of him, and pulled his gaze into it. Inkue was shocked. He cut off his gaze with his mind and withdrew it. It was at this moment that the light shadow covered 100 miles around him. What kind of sword is this? Inkue asked in surprise. This sword intent was naturally the immortal trapping sword diagram that Xiaohua had placed in the void long ago. However, Xiaohua's current strength was far from enough to activate the sword diagram. Even if he activated it now, the sword light that had just appeared was not enough to catch Inkue's eyes. However, the immortal trapping sword diagram was still the immortal trapping sword diagram, and Inkue's surprise was definitely not limited to this. Boom, boom, boom. As Inkue cut off his gaze, within the 100 miles of light shadow, a shabby sword diagram broke through the air, like a ferocious underwater beast roaring loudly. With the appearance of the sword diagram, a soaring murderous aura poured out, and layers of sword intent, like stormy waves, crazily rotated in the diagram, condensing into a fierce sword formation that wanted to escape from the sword diagram. As soon as the soaring murderous aura touched the punishment formation, it immediately tore the punishment chains into pieces. Even Inkue's huge body could not help but transform into a sword under the murderous aura. Clang! An earth-shaking sword cry rang out. Inkue's body shone with a golden light, and streaks of sword light rushed into the sky along with the murderous aura. As for the sword in his hand, it first let out a mournful cry, and its halo became extremely dim. After a while, it let out a long cry, and actually broke free from Inkue's control and rushed into the sword diagram. This. Inkue was dumbfounded. He looked at the sword diagram that had turned into a misty sword light. Within the sword light, a ferocious sword was faintly discernible. Although it had not yet revealed its sword form, The sword light was incomparably cold. The ferocious sword that had forced Xiao Hua to the point that he could not fight back just now had already disappeared into the sword diagram. Yin Kuei could not help but cry out. Could this be the four great sword diagrams? How could Xiao Hua answer him? Immortal spiritual energy was rapidly produced in Xiao Hua's hands. In the void above his head, the power of thunder tribulation was generated, and the laws of heaven and earth fell, trying to imprison Xiao Hua. However, in the punishment formation, in the immortal trapping sword diagram, the laws of heaven and earth and the thunder tribulation could not fall. However, this space was not the same space, and Xiao Hua was not the Xiao Hua of the Jade Archive. Under the activation of the immortal art, he could only activate the immortal trapping sword diagram, but it was still beyond his power to kill Yin Kuei. Yin Kuei was scared out of his wits at first, but when he saw that the sword diagram had condensed into a sword form and could not break free, and the entire sword diagram was like a bound ferocious beast, he could not help but raise his head and laugh. I see. Although you have obtained the supreme treasure of the immortal realm, you are still a cultivator of the mortal realm. Even if you have a reincarnated body, you can't activate it. In that case, don't let me take advantage of you. Xiao Hua. Outside the punishment formation, Zhang Jia had also noticed the crisis Xiao Hua was in. She hurriedly urged, quickly tear this formation apart. I can only activate the Nirvana Paramitha once, but if the formation is obstructing me, I'm afraid I can't. Xiao Hua naturally saw it. Zhang Jia was protected by the 10 colors of the Paramitha, and had long turned into a phoenix immortal flower. However, the holy light was so redemptive and compassionate that it wouldn't forcefully tear apart the punishment formation. Furthermore, within the phoenix immortal flower, Zhang Jia's spirit body was tainted by the light of the Paramitha, and actually showed signs of being unable to withstand it. Humph. Reverend Yun snorted coldly, holding the Pangu axe in his dragon claw. Namo Mithriya. Namo Mithriya chanted the name of the Buddha, then raised his hand and produced the Tree of Seven Wonders. At this point in time, none of Yin Kuei's clones dared to delay any longer. Yin Kuei sneered and raised his hand. Swoosh. A huge golden hand that looked like it was made of gold grabbed out of thin air, trying to cover the sword diagram. Clang! Before the huge hand could land, a towering sword intent flew out from the sword chi and completely cut off Yin Kuei's huge golden hand. Yin Kuei could not help but burst into laughter again when he saw the power of the sword diagram. He did not try to control the sword diagram, but waved both hands and unleashed countless tiny beams onto the blood-red punishment platform. Although they were much weaker than the sword diagram, they carried a strong blood-red ferocious gleam, and spread toward the left of the sword diagram. A cold smile emerged on Xiao Hua's face when he saw Yin Kuei exercising the divine ability of Book Immortal, trying to seize the immortal trapping sword diagram by force. It was as if he could see the scene when he fought with Lung Chinga, when his cultivation base was still weak. He raised his voice and said, as an emperor, if his heart is for the people, even if he is high up in the imperial court, he will still have the hearts of the people. As an emperor, if his heart is not for the people, even if he is the son of heaven, the hearts of the people will still punish him. Xiao Hua had already said this before, and the meaning behind it was even more profound than what Xiao Hua had said to Lung Chinga in the past. Xiao is the beginning. I am here to seize your freedom for 10,000 generations. Engraved in stone, recorded in the annals of history, how I rebuked you. See how this Xiao will suppress you. His anger was much less, and the level was much higher. However, in the end, Xiao Hua's voice rose again as he said angrily, if the hearts of the people are powerless, I will do it. If the hearts of the people desire, I will do it. If the hearts of the people are destroyed, I will replace them. After saying this, Xiao Hua waved his hand and took out the Xianyuan sword from the space. He threw it into the immortal trapping sword diagram without hesitation. Boom! On the sword diagram, the half-formed ferocious sword immediately let out a rumbling sound as the Xianyuan sword was thrown in. The bronze sword light swept up endless profound mysteries and soared into the sky. The profound mysteries swept across the blood-red punishment platform like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves, sweeping them clean. Yin Kuei was shocked and astonished. He gritted his teeth and said, This is clearly the Xianyuan sword of my Confucian school. You are a Taoist cultivator. Where did you get the Xianyuan sword? Unfortunately, how could Xiao Hua answer him? Moreover, although the Xianyuan sword was not the immortal trapping sword, it was also a famous ferocious sword in every world. What was special was that in the vast space of the Book Immortal, the profound mysteries of the sword Qi soared into the sky. It was like a giant hand of heaven and earth had grabbed the space of tens of thousands of li, pulling all the majestic aura and law chains into the sword Qi. Woo-woo. One by one, the stars fell into the sword Qi like falling stars. One by one, the mountains fell into the sword Qi like collapsing rivers. When the entire space shattered, the bronze Xianyuan sword appeared like a sword of heaven and earth. One side of the sword was divided into 5 sections, respectively engraved with the sun, moon, and stars. The other side was divided into 9 sections, respectively engraved with mountains, rivers, and plants. On the hilt of the sword, one side was engraved with the techniques of farming and animal husbandry, and the other side was engraved with the strategy of unifying the 4 seas. As the shadow flashed, the sun, moon, and stars lingered, the mountains, rivers, and plants danced. The unparalleled sharpness of the sword streaked across the space, setting off a roar like a wave. The roar of the wind tore everything apart. The 81 punishment pillars were slanted, and the blood-mottled punishment platform was overturned. Not to mention the hundreds of punishment chains that trapped Xiao Hua. They had already shattered like a spider web. Yin Kuei's expression was blocked by the golden light and black gas, so Xiao Hua couldn't see it. However, looking at Yin Kuei's trembling body and the broken crown, Xiao Hua could already feel Yin Kuei's sorrow. Yin Kuei seemed to want to raise his hand to control the Xianyuan sword. Not to mention that he was an emperor and didn't dare to control it. He definitely didn't dare to block the power of the immortal trapping sword diagram. At this moment, Zhang Jia, who couldn't support the Nirvana sword anymore, suddenly chanted, Saint Lord, lend me your power to wipe out the evil spirits in this world. As he spoke, Zhang Jia's wings emitted a bright holy light. The Nirvana sword waved. An array of holy light passed through the stormy space storm and landed on Yin Kuei. The Nirvana sword in Zhang Jia's hand was different from when it was in Xiao Hua's hand. The holy light lacked redemption and had more anger. Even the immortal trapping sword diagram couldn't stop it. The holy light seemed to be gentle as it crashed into Yin Kuei's body. It didn't have the shocking power of the Xianyuan sword, but under the holy light, there was a soft swoosh. Like the law of heaven and earth, raindrops fell like tears. Under the raindrops, not only did the black gas that was destroyed by the golden light turn into nothingness, but even the golden light was annihilated. A mighty man wearing an emperor's robe and a crown was revealed in the annihilated golden light. The man's face was filled with incomparable shock. However, as soon as the holy light passed, the man's eyes turned red. He waved his 4 arms at the same time and said angrily, Whoever dares to mess with my order, I will kill him. After that, the golden light scattered again. The sword, flute, bow, golden seal, and even the bloody skull were all summoned. They madly pounced on Zhang Jia, not caring that the Xianyuan sword was already close to him. As for Zhang Jia, after waving the Nirvana sword, the holy light around him was quickly annihilated. His spiritual body was also a little turbid, as if he couldn't withstand it. Namo Maitreya Buddha. Maitreya Buddha world honored one chanted the name of Buddha. The tree of 7 wonders fell down. Under the light of all kinds of treasures, the treasured swords, disciples, bows and arrows, and the golden seal all lost their colors. As the tree of 7 wonders brushed past, all the treasures fell, not to mention the blood-colored skull. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it a tip, and thank you to Benben, Kai Guanhuan, and other fellow Taoists for your tips. I will add more chapters for you today. Chapter 5209. Not only that, as the tree of 7 wonders waved, countless worlds were destroyed, and the Buddha's light went beyond space and fell on Yin Kuei's body. Bang! The sword light around Yin Kuei's body was annihilated, as if it had hit a broken piece of cotton. The blood-red color in his eyes disappeared. However, What surprised Xiaohua was that even though the Tree of Seven Wonders had struck him, Yin Kuei's body was still unharmed. At this time, Yin Kuei's eyes were slightly closed, and his body was falling rapidly. Watch me. Just when Xiaohua was hesitating whether to let Reverend Yun attack, an arrogant voice came from afar. Then he saw the celestial being flying over barefoot. Before he could get close, he opened his mouth. Buzz. A loud roar broke through the air, and the heavenly dipper rolled out of his body. Whoosh! An aura several times fiercer than the spirit-slaying light rushed out of the heavenly dipper, instantly drowning the surrounding space. Then, as the celestial being raised his hand and pointed, a black light of death came out of it. This black light passed through the broken space and covered Yin Kuei. At this time, the golden light around Yin Kuei began to regenerate, but the black light of death had already extinguished it. Fellow Taoist. Reverend Yun squinted at Xiaohua and said, "There is something wrong with the emperor's outfit. Even the Maitreya Buddha's Tree of Seven Wonders could not break it. My Panga axe may not succeed." Speaking of this, Reverend Yun seemed to be unwilling to give up and explained, "Of course, it's not that I's Pango axe is not sharp enough. It's just that in the mortal world, its power is limited. I'm afraid that it and the emperor's outfit are both under the same law of heaven and earth." In fact, there was no need for Reverend Yun to explain. The black light of death, which even the two great saints of the original realm were afraid of, had only extinguished the emperor's outfit and the golden light of Yin Kuei's immortal body. How could Xiaohua not know that he could not destroy the immortal body of the Book Immortal on the Danrain continent? In fact, even Suji and Fairy Xing, you could not be killed by the divine powers of the three continents if their immortal bodies were not damaged, let alone the Book Immortal. Wasn't Fairy Xing Yu the same? Although he had changed many bodies, the immortal mark was still there. As long as he had immortal qi, he could still recover his immortal spirit body. Sure enough, Zhang Jie carefully held the higan and said loudly, "Xiaohua, the immortal body of the Heavenly Court's Book Immortal has already surpassed the law of heaven and earth in the Danrain continent, so it should be indestructible in the Danrain continent. Although the higan has many wonderful methods, it can't surpass the law of heaven and earth here, so..." "And I understand." Xiaohua nodded. Since Reverend Yun had already said that, there was no need for Zhang Jie to repeat it again. Xiaohua gave the Xianyuan sword in the immortal trapping sword diagram a look, then looked up at the sky. The punishment formation had been destroyed, and Yin Kuei's vast space had been pierced by the diagram, gradually collapsing. The thunder tribulation that was previously blocked by the formation was now coming out like a shadow, while the omnipresent laws of heaven and earth were coming at him. While the thunder tribulation was brewing, Xiaohua actually felt a pair of frightening eyes staring straight at him. "Everyone," Xiaohua ordered in his mind, "the immortal body of the Heavenly Court's Book Immortal is very powerful, and there is no other way to break it apart with the means of Confucian cultivators. The Xianyuan sword is the only weapon we have today, and only I can activate this supreme treasure of Confucian cultivators. So I have no choice but to step forward. Now the Xianyuan sword has borrowed the power of the immortal trapping sword diagram, and if I want to activate it, I will have to use the immortal energy. Perhaps, as soon as I destroy the immortal body of the Book Immortal, the great tribulation of heaven and earth will descend. Therefore, I'll leave the task of breaking the formation and saving the billions of lives on the three continents to you, Big Brother," cried Shur the Archfiend. "Since we can't kill the Book Immortal, why should we? The lives on the Danrain continent can't be compared to the three continents. Even if all of them are destroyed, it will only be 10% of the three continents. You should know which is more important. Besides, with Big Brother's vast space, we can also save the disciples of Fortune Gate, Thunder Controlling Sect, and other old friends of Big Brother." Xiaohua smiled faintly, then raised his hand and patted the top of his head. Boom! 3 streams of Xiantian true qi gushed out, and in an instant, the surrounding righteous qi crashed down on Xiaohua. Although Yin Kuei was washed away by the 10,000 extinguishing Heavenly Dipper's black light, the blood-red color in his eyes slowly reappeared. He saw that Xiaohua had actually used the 5 qis unifications technique, and his eyes looked towards the Xianyuan sword. He immediately understood Xiaohua's intention. and he hurriedly urged his body to escape from the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper. Unfortunately, how arrogant was the black light! Even if it couldn't cut off his 3 flowers, and couldn't destroy his 5 cheese unifications technique, it could still wash away his immortal body until he couldn't move. Little brother Mo Ling. Xiao Hua's body surged with sword light, and his whole body gradually turned into a sword. The sound of a sword chime rang out. Human lives are not worthless. Ordinary people are lives, and so are kings. Similarly, human lives are not important, they are all lives. Whether it's the Dawn Rain continent or the 3 continents, since I have seen it, I can't avoid it, and I can't have selfish thoughts. Although I have gone, the 3 continents still have you to save. After he finished speaking, the sound of a sword chime shook the heavens and the earth, and a sword light that penetrated the heavens and the earth rushed into the immortal trapping sword diagram. Roar! Just as the sword light entered, a huge dragon-like roar was heard from the sword diagram. Xiao Hua was like a sword god, and his figure appeared under the Xianyuan sword. When Xiao Hua raised his hand and grasped the Xianyuan sword, the space within tens of thousands of li began to be annihilated at an accelerated rate. However, when Xiao Hua's eyes were like the sun and moon, and his arms were like mountains, and he slowly waved the Xianyuan sword, countless light shadows were born from the Xianyuan sword, and fell into the annihilated space. Boom boom boom. The noble qi within tens of thousands of li crazily gushed out and rushed into the light shadows. Many suns, moons, stars, mountains, rivers, plants, farmers, and generals were born. As the Xianyuan sword fell, the suns, moons, stars, mountains, rivers, plants, and so on all crashed into it like a flood. The place where the Xianyuan sword fell was naturally in Kuei's emperor's outfit. Although the emperor's outfit was suppressed by the black light of annihilation, and the golden light was no longer there, and only some mountains and rivers could be seen faintly flashing, but the imperial qi on it was strong and unparalleled in the world. The Xianyuan sword was heavy and had no edge, and with the power of the sword diagram, it stabbed into the emperor's outfit. Boom boom. The imperial qi was immediately shattered, and then the images of the suns, moons, and stars also poured in. However, in just a moment, In Kuei's eyes were filled with surprise. Bang! Like the mountains and rivers were broken, and the land fell down, the emperor's outfit turned into pieces and fell with the wind like butterflies dancing in the wind. At the same time, ka ka ka. Above the firmament, a burst of thick lightning appeared. This lightning was the tribulation of heaven and earth. And even the book immortal of the heavenly court couldn't resist it. Xiao Hua looked at the Xianyuan sword in his hand, and the fierce light on it didn't diminish. Waves of fierce qi that wanted to kill the book immortal of the heavenly court unceasingly attacked in Kuei. But when this fierce qi fell into the book immortal's tenacious golden light, it dimmed and disappeared. Fellow Taoist. At this time, the celestial being shouted, "Quick, I can't hold on any longer." Okay. Xiao Hua agreed and turned his head to look into the distance. At this time, more than 100 scattered nascent souls had already protected millions of cultivators and escaped from the vast space. Fairy Hongxia was naturally among them. Xiao Hua didn't know if his reluctant gaze swept over Fairy Hongxia. He gritted his teeth and activated his immortal qi, preparing for the final attack. But when the immortal qi was produced and the thunder tribulation fell, Xiao Hua suddenly saw the 5-colored true qi with black threads on top of Ying Kuei's head. Damn it! Xiao Hua's mind lit up. Thinking of the new princess actions when he was possessed by the devil, he cursed in a low voice and slapped his head again. Swish swish swish. 5 streams of true qi rushed out from the 4 half-sky hearts. It was very strange. When the 4 half-sky hearts appeared, the half petal on top of Ying Kuei's head suddenly produced 5 petals. These 5 petals were also in the shape of the heavenly heart. Even the petals produced a strange suction force and sucked in the 4 half-sky hearts. Swish. A pure noble qi rushed out from the petals with a power that could wash away all impurities. It first spun in the scroll, then poured into the top of Book Immortal's head. Wisps of black smoke were forced out by the noble qi. However, the black smoke was like a maggot. Although it had transformed into tiny, bizarre fiends and fell in the air, they still rushed madly towards Ying Kuei's immortal body. as if they would not stop until one of them was dead. Haha. Sure, the fiend flew out while yelling. Don't be afraid, fellow Taoist. This is my dish. The billowing fiend energy of Sure the fiend drowned these fiends in an instant. At this point, the celestial could no longer hold on. He retracted the heavenly dipper and nodded at Reverend Yun. Then, both man and dragon disappeared quietly. Seeing that the dark beam of silence was gone, a dazzling golden light shone out from the top of Ing Kuei's head once again, slowly covering his head and neck. Xiaohua felt relieved when he saw that the golden light was not evil, and the immortal energy in his palm slowly dissipated. This. Just as Xiaohua was about to heave a sigh of relief, a dignified and surprised voice came out from the golden light. What is going on? Then, a pair of arms suddenly reached out from the golden light, seeming to be trying to kill Sure the fiend and Xiaohua. Not good. Xiaohua's heart tightened again, and he hurriedly urged his immortal qi again. Ah, the Xianyuan sword? The voice came again from the golden light. Who are you? How dare you take the Xianyuan sword of a Confucian cultivator? Seeing that Ing Kuei's arms had stopped, Xiaohua dared not let his guard down. He shouted, Senior, I am Xiaohua. The heavenly dipper in your body now belongs to me. Please think carefully. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Just as Xiaohua's voice faded away, Ing Kuei's angry voice was heard. After cursing 3 times in a row, he shouted again. What have I done? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a tip, and Chapter 52:10. As he spoke, Ing Kuei raised his head again, as if he was about to do something. But just as he raised his arm, he dropped it again and said in a low voice, So be it. If it weren't for these clones, how could I have come this far? Xiaohua understood that Reverend Yun, celestial being, and Fengwu had joined hands to kill Ing Kuei's clones. Looking at Ing Kuei's increasingly powerful golden light, and sensing the mighty imperial power fighting against the sword energy of Xianyuan sword, Xiaohua felt somewhat helpless. He no longer had the strength to activate the immortal trapping sword diagram. After pondering for a brief moment, Xiaohua retreated at top speed, exercising the mystic technique of Qingqiu Mountain to forcibly suppress the immortal energy. However, even though he had used Suji's magical technique and the mystic technique of Qingqiu Mountain, the tribulation cloud above Xiaohua's head still did not completely dissipate, and a suffocating pressure loomed over him. With the immortal energy gone, the fierceness of the immortal trapping sword diagram dropped rapidly. After half the time it took to finish a pot of tea, it still turned into a broken diagram and fell under Xiaohua's feet. Holding the Xianyuan sword in his hand, Xiaohua was on guard as he carefully put the diagram into his space. On the other side of Ing Kuei, Zhang Jie was also staring at Ing Kuei, fearing that Ing Kuei would suddenly attack him. Similarly, Buddha Maitreya, World Sovereign, Xiaohua, and Zhang Jie stood in a tripartite confrontation, trapping Ing Kuei in the middle. Unfortunately, Ing Kuei just stood there, letting Tianqing cleanse his immortal body, letting the dazzling golden light once again envelop the area of 1,000 miles, and letting Lord Demon Lord transform into a fiend cloud and swim around him, trying to devour him. It was as if he did not notice any of this, as if he was reminiscing. In the time it took to finish a meal, Reverend Yun, Fengwu, Huangtong, Taoist sorcerer, Reverend Yun, and celestial being had returned to different parts of the space. At this moment, Xiaohua breathed out a long sigh of relief. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead with his hand, quietly looking at the golden light in front of him, and the pure white light of Tianqing falling under Ing Kuei's feet. Ha! Lord Demon Lord burst into laughter, plunging straight into the ground and vanishing in a moment. When Demon Lord sure flew out, Ing Kuei had just gotten out, and he didn't notice it in a hurry. Now that he was awake, how could Demon Lord sure dare to enter the space in front of him? The Demon Lord had left, and his incarnations had returned. However, the Heavenly Court's book immortal Ing Kuei did not move or speak. At this moment, the vast space of tens of thousands of miles had disappeared, but the remaining aura was still there. Strong winds howled in the sky, When the heart of heaven fell under Ing Kuei's feet, a tall king stood in front of Xiaohua and the others. Xiaohua. Ing Kuei seemed to have remembered everything. He raised his hand and pointed at the heart of heaven. The heart of heaven flew to Xiaohua and said, "This is your heart of heaven. I return it to you intact. If it weren't for you today, I would have been consigned to eternal damnation. I won't say thank you. Everything in the heart of heaven is my gratitude." Xiaohua was speechless, but what could he say? When he took the heaven's heart, he saw that the incomplete heaven's heart had been mended a lot, becoming denser and denser. The other 4 heavens' hearts had also become denser, far more profound than his previous heaven's heart. It was as if the other 4 heavens' hearts had been added to it. Xiaohua couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. How could he not know that Ing Kuei's origin was not ordinary? If he hadn't hurt himself to atone for his sins, he would have had a higher chance of breaking the immortal formation. However, it was too late to say anything now. Xiaohua patted his head, and the 5 Qis rushed out, taking the heart of heaven. He looked at Ing Kuei and wanted to say something, but at this moment, Ing Kuei rapidly aged and turned into a withered old man. Oh, and this? Ing Kuei thought of something and hurriedly raised his hand. The human-shaped shadow that looked very similar to Xiaohua flew out of his hand and entered Xiaohua's body. Then Ing Kuei said embarrassedly, "I took your blood essence, but instead of returning it, I wanted to take your life. I'm really sorry." Xiaohua was not used to Ing Kuei's behavior. He hurriedly replied, "Senior, you're too polite." Seeing that Ing Kuei didn't mention the heart of heaven, Xiaohua looked at Zhang Jie and didn't say anything. "Good." Zhang Jie clapped his hands and said, "You reined in the horse at the edge of the cliff and turned over a new leaf. You're indeed a hero. I'm really surprised to be praised by the angel of the Holy Light Realm." Ing Kuei glanced at Zhang Jie, and his gaze fell on the permitha in her hand. "However, I don't want you to follow in my footsteps. With your ability, even in the Daybreak continent, you also have the strength to fight with us. However, you relied too much on this sacred artifact, so you could only take one move from me. What's more, when you forcefully activated it, you've already suffered a backlash." Zhang Jie also sighed. She returned the permitha to Xiaohua and said, "Book Immortal is right. What belongs to the Sacred Master should be returned to the Sacred Master, and what belongs to the Namwu Great Compassionate Pessimist should be returned to the Namwu Great Compassionate Pessimist. I'm just a little angel, so you don't have to worry about me." Namwu Great Compassionate Pessimist? Ing Kuei didn't understand, but he didn't ask. Xiaohua kept the permitha. Zhang Jie flapped his wings and said, "I'm leaving. I just activated the permitha, and my spiritual body is already on the verge of collapse. Don't call me for 100 days. After 100 days, when you break the formation, I can still come again. Since you can recover in 100 days, why don't you come directly to me? You used the sacred artifact to activate it, and I'm also using the same amount of sacred energy. Don't make me go through any more trouble," Xiaohua said with a bitter smile. Zhang Jie nodded. "Then I'll do as you say." Xiaohua smiled and cupped his hands. "I'll see you off. I hope you can recover soon." Zhang Jie wasn't one to be courteous. He nodded and flapped his wings, disappearing without a trace in the blink of an eye. Break the formation? Ing Kuei looked at Xiaohua, then at the Thunderbolt Immortal and the others. He asked curiously, "Break what formation?" The Thunderbolt Immortal rolled his eyes at Ing Kuei and answered, "Of course it's the immortal formation of the 4 great continents." "The 4 great continents?" Ing Kuei was even more confused. "Forget it." Xiaohua looked at Ing Kuei's abnormally withered arms and other parts. He really wanted to shout at him. "Why didn't you ask earlier?" But now he could only sigh and say, "Let's not talk about this first. Senior, how long can you stay in the Dawn Rain continent without your immortal body?" "It could be a few days, or it could be a few years." Ing Kuei's face was filled with melancholy. If he hadn't forcibly cultivated the clone technique, and actually turned into a demon with the body of a book immortal, he would definitely still be free and unfettered in the heavenly court. Actually, Xiaohua thought for a moment, then comforted him. "Senior, you can think about it from another perspective. Although turning into a demon is a calamity, it might also be an opportunity. And since Ing Kuei was a book immortal of the heavenly court, he knew what Xiaohua was talking about. He nodded and said no more. After taking off his immortal body, Ing Kuei's overall strength had been greatly reduced, and he was no longer Xiaohua's match. Xiaohua looked at the vigilant clones and said with a smile, "Fellow Taoists, you've all worked hard. Why don't you take a rest first?" "No need." Reverend Yun looked up at the sky and said worriedly, "We don't have much time left. Let's find a way to break the formation first." "Just wait." Thunderbolt Immortal stepped out from the crowd and said to Xiaohua, "Fellow Taoist, please send me back to Kunlun Immortal Realm. I still need to refine my magical item." All right. Xiaohua knew the refining of the 5 elements heavenly staff had come to the most critical moment. Without further ado, he took out the Kunlun mirror and sent Thunderbolt Immortal into his space. P.S. For all the fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian. Vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Thank you to the leaders of Kai Gui Han and Chuan Tong for their tips. Chapter 52:11. When Xiaohua activated the Kunlun mirror, boom boom boom. Faint lightning strikes faintly appeared in the sky. Ing Kuei watched as the lightning immortal was taken in by the Kunlun mirror's light pillar, then said, "Xiaohua, your Dao sect immortal world's secret technique is no longer able to suppress the ascension force. If possible, put on my broken emperor armor first. It can temporarily block the lightning tribulation for you." "All right." Xiaohua nodded. The celestial had already flown out and handed the broken emperor armor to Xiaohua. Xiaohua looked at the strange fluctuation on the broken emperor armor and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "If Junior had known earlier, I wouldn't have broken this emperor armor." This item is also a famous immortal imperial equipment of the heavenly court. When you ascend to the immortal world, you might have heard of it. Ing Kuei watched Xiaohua put on the emperor armor and said faintly, "Since you can break this item, your ability is far beyond what I expected. This immortal imperial equipment can also be refined. Later, pass it to Confucian Cultivator and let him refine it. I will give you the refining method later." "Thank you, Senior," Xiaohua said sincerely. Ing Kuei was taken aback. He looked at Xiaohua, whose gratitude was genuine, and sighed, "I'm really surprised. The immortals in the immortal realm of the Tao League are known for their selfishness. After taking advantage of others, they still claim that they are virtuous. This is the first time I've seen such a grateful cultivator from the Tao League. After all, I almost killed you before. This small matter shouldn't be taken as thanks." "Others are others, Xiaohua is Xiaohua," Xiaohua said with a smile. Moreover, in Junior's eyes, although Senior's previous crimes are innumerable, with Senior's ability, you still made such a vicious oath to atone for your crimes. You are already Junior's role model. Death is easy, repentance is hard, atonement is even harder. Senior's blood sacrifice. I'm afraid there are countless people. With Senior's words, I don't know how long it will take to repay all of them. This is what I should do." Ing Kuei's face showed guilt, then he said to Xiaohua, "Also, although my strength has been weakened by 70%, but if you need me, please do your best to ask." "Senior," Xiaohua said sincerely, "the matter of breaking the formation concerns the entire Dawn Rain continent. Junior has to explain it to the various sect masters of the Dawn Rain continent right away, so I won't speak any more with Senior here." "All right." Ing Kuei nodded and replied, "Since that's the case, then I'll stay in Dawn Rain continent for a few more days." "Oh right." Xiaohua suddenly thought of something. He waved his hand and took out the coffin from the space. Ing Kuei could not help but cry out in shock when he saw the pitch-black coffin, with 8 lifelike dragons engraved on its 8 edges, and a ferocious-looking dragon head and a ferocious-looking tail respectively in front of the head and behind the tail. 9 dragons coffin? Xiaohua nodded and said, "That's right, this is something that this junior obtained by chance. That day this junior didn't know what it was, but, with the help of that senior from the immortal world, the outer layer of restriction was opened, and this coffin was revealed. That senior was a Tao immortal from the immortal world, so he couldn't open this thing. Seeing senior today, this junior suddenly thought of something and wanted to see if senior has a way to open it. Inkue looked at the dragon scales on the 9 dragons that were filled with inexplicable carvings, then looked at the tadpole-shaped clouds that surrounded the 9 dragons, and asked curiously, why would the 9 dragons' coffin appear in Dawn Rain Continent? Where did you get it? Xiaohua said with a smile, the place this junior obtained is rather secretive. Well, it's fine if you don't tell me. Inkue did not ask any more questions. He pointed at the dragon head and said, this 9 dragons' coffin is an item of the heavenly court. It's usually used to store corpses. Of course, it's also used to store secret items of the heavenly court. You can usually tell what's inside from the dragon head. If it's a corpse, the dragon head's eyes should be closed. If it's an item, the dragon head's eyes should be open. Xiaohua hurriedly looked at the dragon head. Sure enough, the dragon's eyes were open. The 2 Tao immortals who were injured by me were right. They can't open this 9 dragons' coffin. Moreover, if they use their divine abilities by force, they will be injured by the power of the 9 dragons on the 9 dragons' coffin. From the carvings on the 9 dragons' coffin, although it's not set up by an earth immortal of the prime clear lineage, it's not something they can open. Xiaohua probed, Senior, can you open it? Inkue said with a smile. If it was before I woke up, of course I could. But now, I'm no longer a book immortal. Of course, I can't open it. All right, Xiaohua was helpless. He raised his hand and was about to put the coffin away when Inkue said. However, the 9 dragons on the coffin seem to have been set up in a hurry, and the book immortal who set it up is not strong. I have some common secret arts here. You can try them. Maybe you can open it. All right. Xiaohua nodded and said with a smile. If I can't open it, I'll give up. Otherwise, I'll keep thinking about it. Inkue looked at the heavenly beings and said, I was defeated by you, so my things are all yours. These are all things of the heavenly court. You can't treat them lightly. Don't worry. Huang Tong said with a smile, your treasured sword, golden seal, and other things have been taken by us. Since you've decided to atone for your sins, throw away everything in this world. Inkue said and took out a few things that looked like tortoise shells and handed them to Xiaohua. This is my cultivation method. There are also some strange things inside. I see that you also know about Confucian cultivation. When you meet a suitable Confucian cultivator, you can entrust them to you without worry. Speaking of this, Inkue hesitated for a moment and transmitted his voice. In one of the tortoise shells, there's a stone tablet. It's said that it's related to a secret of the heavenly court. When you pass it down, you should explain it clearly. Don't let this stone tablet be destroyed. Ah. Xiaohua was surprised and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He transmitted his voice. Senior, you don't have to do this, right? Don't you Taoists talk about fate? Inkue replied indifferently. This is the fate of another Confucian cultivator. Of course, if you think it's inappropriate, you can throw it away. Also, my execution platform is also an item of the heavenly court. If the Confucian cultivator you entrust enters the heavenly court, he can rely on it to have a meteoric rise. All right. Xiaohua accepted it helplessly. Then Inkue took out a dozen things similar to Mo Yuntong and handed them to Xiaohua. This is the Red Cloud Festival commonly used by the heavenly court. It's different from the immortal slips of the Taoist immortal world. In the mortal world, you can use the light of clear eyes to look at it. There's the 9 dragons coffin suppressing seal and the secret technique to open it. Xiaohua took the Red Cloud Festival and didn't look at it carefully. He only picked the one with the 9 dragons coffin suppressing seal. Just as he was about to comprehend it, he suddenly raised his head and looked in the direction of the Huan country. He frowned and said, Fellow Taoist Huang Tong, the sword cultivators of the Huan country are here. It seems like they've also received news from the Sky Patrol City. Go take a look and let them wait nearby. Well said. Huang Tong spread her wings and flew away. Feng Wu also looked into the distance and said to Xiaohua, Fellow Taoist, give the Kunlun mirror to I. I will take those fellow Taoists into the Kunlun Wonderland. I'm afraid they can't stay in the Dawn Rain continent for long. All right. Xiao Hua handed the Kunlun mirror to Feng Wu and said, "Let the 3 kingdoms of cultivation and the sect leaders of the various sects who came here take a rest first." After this, Taoist and Senior Ing finished dealing with the 9 dragons' coffin suppression. This Taoist will tell them about the immortal array. "I'll do as you say, fellow Taoist." Feng Wu grabbed the Kunlun mirror and flew away. Taoist sorcerer smiled and said, "The commotion in the Sky Patrol City is too great. The sword cultivators, Tao cultivators, and soul cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent might all come here. Fellow Taoist, why don't you wait for a few more days?" Xiao Hua nodded. A bright light shone out of his eyes as he looked at the Red Cloud Festival. While Xiao Hua was comprehending, Ing Kue looked at Reverend Yun and asked in a low voice, "You look like a dragon from the mortal world, but why do you have a strong aura of the dragon realm? Could it be that you're also banished to the Dawn Rain continent like me?" Reverend Yun did not have a good impression of Ing Kue. After all, these clones had become independent, and they were not as easily forgiven as Xiao Hua. Reverend Yun gave Ing Kue a sideways glance and said coldly, "This is I's secret. I don't think I need to tell you, do I?" Ing Kue was a little embarrassed, but he asked again, "Since it's a secret, I won't ask. But the axe you used just now, it looked like... That's the Pengu axe." Reverend Yun interrupted before Ing Kue could finish. "If fellow Taoist Xiao didn't stop me, I would have hacked it down. If that happened, you wouldn't even have the chance to atone for your sins." "Not necessarily." Ing Kue opened his mouth and only said 2 words. Then he stopped and looked around. Looking at the doppelgangers, he asked curiously, "You are all from the Demon Clan, the Dragon Clan, and the Buddha Lord. How come you are together? And why are you following Xiao Hua's orders?" "We share the same ideals. What's the matter?" The Celestial tilted his head and said coldly, "Namo Methria." Methria chanted the name of the Buddha and said, "Benefactor, we are all from the 3 continents. Because of the calamity of the world-destroying mayfly, we have come to the Dawn Rain continent to break the immortal formation." "World-destroying mayfly?" Ing Kue was shocked and asked curiously, "What is that?" "It is said to be a type of spirit insect from the upper realm, and it is not something cultivators from the mortal realm can resist." The Celestial answered impatiently, "It's best if you know anything about the immortal formation, but if you don't ask." While they were talking, Xiao Hua had already put away the Rosy Cloud Festival. He raised his hand and slapped on the top of his head, sending out 3 streams of innate energy. Seeing that, Ing Kue hastily stopped him and said, "Don't be hasty. 3 streams of innate energy are not enough to open the 9 dragons' coffin. This emperor will give you 2 more. Hearing this, Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows and said curiously, "Senior, although this junior doesn't understand the cultivation method of the Heavenly Court's Book Immortals, this junior just took a look. The mortal realm's Confucian immortals cultivate the 5 cheese unifications, while the Heavenly Court's Book Immortals cultivate the 3 flowers at one's prominence. Wouldn't this junior's 3 streams of innate energy be used to cultivate the 3 flowers at one's prominence? Senior, why did you give this junior 2 more streams of innate energy? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Thank you, Alliance Master Chuantong, for your tip. Thank you, Alliance Master Mtichin. Chapter 52:12. Hearing Xiaohua's question, Ing Kue smiled and said, "Don't the Tao immortals of the immortal world emphasize that Tao begets 1, 1 begets 2, 2 begets 3, 3 begets all things? If you don't have all things, how can you cultivate to 3? Without 3, how can you cultivate to 2? I've never heard of anyone who can cultivate 3 flowers at one's prominence, with only 3 streams of innate true qi. You're not a heavenly court immortal, so you might not be able to cultivate 3 flowers at one's prominence. When you have time, you can take a closer look and you'll know what I mean." Xiaohua also smiled. He understood Ing Kue's words. After thinking for a while, he said respectfully, "In that case, Junior thanks Senior." Ing Kue didn't hesitate. He raised his hand and pointed at his chest. 2 streams of innate true qi flew out like snakes. At this time, Inkue was like a kind old man. He was not the fierce man from before. Xiaohua's heart was filled with mixed feelings. He thought to himself, if this is the case, then human desire is the real heavenly devil. The so-called devil race in the devil world can't be compared with the devil in the human heart. This book immortal is much stronger than Su Ji and Fairy Xingyu, but after he turned into a devil, it's even harder to control him. As the saying goes, virtue is 1 foot tall, the devil is 10 feet tall. Seeing the 2 streams of innate true qi flying over, Inkue's appearance became even older. Xiaohua hurriedly pointed at his chest. Buzz. 3 streams of innate true qi flew out, and met Inkue's 2 streams of innate true qi. Swoosh! Before the 5 streams of innate true qi touched each other, many lights and shadows appeared in the void between them. Countless mountains and rivers surged out, and an indescribable majesty spread out in all directions. Xiaohua's 3 streams of innate true qi seemed weak, but they were brave. Inkue's 2 streams of innate true qi looked very strong. They emitted a strong aura of imperial power, and a will of supremacy in the world. Xiaohua's innate true qi couldn't compare. When the 5 streams of innate true qi collided, there was a slight vibration at first, but in a moment, Xiaohua's middle dantian emitted the power of the heavenly heart. The 5 streams of innate true qi no longer entangled and flew into Zhao's dantian. Boom! When Inkue's 2 streams of innate true qi, the lively qi in Xiaohua's chest was immediately ignited and surged crazily. Xiaohua didn't dare to neglect. He activated Heavenly Court. But these 2 streams of innate true qi from the Heavenly Court, and qi and qi and qi, qi cheeses and qi, qi and qi, qi and qi, qi, and qi, 5 of qi cheat, qi cheese true qi, 2 streams, qi cheat. Good. Inkue's eyes were filled with surprise. He couldn't help but praise Qi. He had already understood that Xiaohua's Confucian cultivation base was definitely not what he had guessed. However, Inkue was also somewhat convinced. If it were him, he definitely wouldn't have let 2 streams of innate true qi into his dantian so easily. Xiaohua's tolerance was beyond his reach. Seeing the 5 streams of innate qi rushing out, Xiaohua chanted the incantation. The 5 streams of innate qi intertwined with each other in midair, transforming into 10 inscriptions that were several zhang in size. The strokes of these inscriptions were very strange. Rather than words, it would be better to call them 10 knots. Puff puff, puff. Xiaohua spat out innate true qi into the 9 knots. The 9 knots swayed and turned into 10 dragon images of different sizes. Only the last knot was still suspended in midair, emitting a golden light. Go! Xiaohua cried out softly. Together with the knots, the 9 dragon images pounced into the 9 dragons' mouths. Roar! The dragon fell into the 9 dragons' mouths at the same time, and the 9 dragons roared. Layers of dragon patterns mixed with vast inscriptions flowed from the 9 dragons' heads to their tails, and the entire black coffin turned into a dragon coffin. However, even after the dragon marks had dyed the 9 dragons, the 9 dragon images formed by Xiaohua's innate true qi did not completely fall into the 9 dragons' mouths. Similarly, the dragon coffin did not transform into a dragon image, and the 9 dragons did not hide. Xiaohua frowned. He gave Reverend Yun a look and cried out, "Fellow Taoist, please give I a hand." "Haha, that's easy." Reverend Yun laughed and said, "I've told you before, the fortune of Confucian cultivators is eyes. Qi." After saying that, Reverend Yun raised his head and sent 9 streams of innate true qi into Xiaohua's innate true qi. The 9 dragon images seemed to come alive as they rushed into the 9 dragons' bodies. They emitted a deep rumbling sound, causing the entire dragon coffin to tremble. It was during this trembling that the 8 dragon images around the dragon coffin slowly transformed into dragon patterns and fell into the dragon coffin. The dragon coffin then transformed into a giant golden dragon. Senior. Xiaohua was not in a hurry to form the last knot. Instead, he asked calmly, "Why is the fortune of Confucian cultivators so similar to the dragon energies? And why is the coffin of Heavenly Court's book immortals also shaped like a dragon?" The heavenly secret cannot be revealed. Inkue shook his head and said, "This is the secret of book immortals of heavenly court. You are just a Tao immortal from the immortal realm, so don't poke your nose into it." "All right." Xiaohua nodded helplessly. He raised his hand and pointed it at the last knot. Looking at the knot landing on the dragon's forehead, Xiaohua felt a little uneasy. Everything before was just a foundation, and only this last knot was the real foundation to open the dragon coffin. Sure enough, as the knot landed, more black and white light threads flickered, and countless phantoms appeared. Then, a collapsed void appeared at the dragon's horns. Asterisk swoosh. Asterisk as the knot landed, an inscription of armor appeared in the void. While spinning, the inscription spread across the dragon's body. When the inscription had completely covered the dragon's body, a loud noise rang out, as if a door had been opened, and the dragon turned into a huge coffin character. "Haha, Xiaohua, you're really lucky." Inkue laughed and said, "With your cultivation base, you can actually open this 9-dragon's coffin. Apart from the fact that the strength of the book immortal who sealed the coffin was too weak, it can only be explained by your luck." Xiaohua rubbed his nose. As he raised his hand and placed it on the word coffin, he said with a smile, "Junior's luck has always been very good." However, before Xiaohua could finish his words, the wood character had already disappeared, revealing a space overflowing with dragon energy. When Xiaohua saw the thing inside the space, he couldn't help but cry out in surprise. "Ah? This, how is this possible?" Inkue didn't step forward. He knew clearly that there must be something very important sealed in this dragon coffin. This was something that Xiaohua must obtain, and he had no reason to cause any trouble. However, when he heard Xiaohua's cry, he couldn't help but look at him and ask, "What's wrong? Is it something very strange? You can tell me what it looks like." "Senior, come and take a look." Xiaohua sighed and said, "It's not just strange, it's extremely strange." Seeing that Xiaohua didn't care, Inkue flew over. When he saw the thing inside the space, he couldn't help but cry out in surprise. "Ah, this, how is this possible?" "That's right, how is this possible?" Xiaohua's hand had already been removed from his nose. At this moment, he rubbed his nose with a bitter smile and said with a distressed expression, "Although Junior hasn't seen his true appearance, but Junior and his daughter are Tao companions, Junior can recognize him at a glance." He was clearly sitting on the dragon throne, full of vigor and energy, pointing out the world. How could he be lying in this dragon coffin? Moreover, this dragon coffin, Junior obtained it from a very secret place. He couldn't have gone there. "Immortal Emperor?" The Celestial looked at him in boredom and asked curiously, "This old fellow looks like this? Why is he lying in this coffin?" Following the gaze of the Celestial, there was a human several zhang tall, dressed in plain white clothes lying there. This human had a square face and thick eyebrows. Although his eyes were tightly closed, a strong aura of majesty was emitted from his body, forcing Xiaohua to stay away. Xiaohua had never seen this person's appearance before, but looking at his 70% resemblance to Princess Zixia, how could Xiaohua not know that he was immortal Emperor Go Qin? However, at this time, Xiaohua didn't have time to answer the Celestial. Instead, he looked at Inkue strangely. He was surprised because immortal Emperor Go Qin was sitting in the immortal palace of the 3 continents, commanding the Confucian cultivators to resist the strange insects. How could he be lying in this coffin? Moreover, this coffin was obtained by Xiaohua from the heavenly prison. How could immortal Emperor Go Qin fall into the heavenly prison? He knew immortal Emperor Go Qin, but did Inkue know him? Why was he so surprised? All of a sudden, Xiaohua's heart was filled with a sudden realization. Sure enough, Inkue looked at Xiaohua and asked curiously, This is Heavenly Emperor Tian Huang of the Heavenly Court. Could it be you know him?" "Heavenly Emperor Tian Huang?" Xiaohua smacked his lips and shook his head slightly. This junior has never heard of this name, but this junior knows a Confucian immortal emperor from the 3 continents. His name is Immortal Emperor Go Qin. Although this junior has never seen this immortal emperor's true appearance, this junior and his 9th princess are lovers, so this junior can recognize him at a glance. "I see." Inkue nodded slightly. Who knew what he understood? Did he know that Xiaohua knew immortal Emperor Go-Chen? Or did he know that Xiaohua knew Confucian cultivation methods, and had the heart of heaven because he and the ninth princess were lovers? What about Senior? Xiaohua looked at the majestic human, and asked in a low voice. Ingkue glanced at Xiaohua and didn't dare to say much. He only explained, "This emperor." Ingkue's body trembled slightly when he said the word "this emperor." He quickly changed his title and said, "This old man has some status in the heavenly court, and has seen the 5 sides. Oh, I mean Heavenly Emperor Tian Huang. Therefore, when I saw this emperor's appearance, I couldn't help but be surprised. Of course, if what you said is true and that immortal Emperor Go-Chen looks exactly like this one, then it means that immortal Emperor Go-Chen is an avatar of Heavenly Emperor Tian Huang who reincarnated in the mortal world. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, gift it, and Chapter 52:13. At this point, Ingkue looked at the coffin with a fearful expression, and didn't dare to say anything else. Xiaohua stared at the coffin in silence for a long time. The reason was simple. Even without Ingkue's explanation, Xiaohua already knew that there was another avatar of Emperor Tian Huang inside the coffin. This was a trap he had set up in another world. However, due to some reason, this avatar had fallen into the heavenly prison, and Xiaohua had managed to bring it out by chance. The problem was that there was already an avatar of Emperor Tian Huang in the 4 continents. If there was another avatar, what was he going to do? Emperor Tian Huang is immortal in the heavenly court. What annoyed Xiaohua the most was that Ingkue said. It said that the old man's doppelganger is also immortal. So, although the 9 dragons coffin is filled with corpses, the doppelganger is still alive. That's why the eyes of the 9 dragons are still open. Xiaohua's brows furrowed deeply upon hearing that the avatar was still alive. Ingkue continued. Of course, that's only a legend. No one knows if it's true or not. It's also possible that avatars can be killed, but Emperor Tian Huang will know of the death of every avatar. That's why Emperor Tian Huang's enemies imprisoned this avatar, and placed it inside the 9-dragon coffin in order to avoid detection from Emperor Tian Huang. However, no matter what, the 9-dragon coffin is already in your hands. Do you dare to throw it away? Xiaohua shrugged, and his brows relaxed. Of course not, but I don't have the ability to awaken it. That's fine, right? I can. Ingkue replied with a smile. Xiaohua's body swayed, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Senior, there's no need for you to tell me that, right? I'll pretend I didn't hear anything. You can pretend you didn't hear anything. Ingkue's smile was as wide as Aogia's. But His Majesty's avatar heard everything. He can't be awakened right now, but once he's awakened, he'll know everything that happened today. Wu. Xiaohua plummeted several dozen feet like a meteor before flying back up with a sullen expression. Senior, what do you mean by that? Are you really going to awaken Emperor Tian Huang's clone? Don't forget that the 3 continents already have a clone. Who knows what will happen when the 2 clones meet? Oh, aren't there no Confucian cultivators in this Dawnrain continent, and only sword cultivators? Ingkue was puzzled. This realm is called the 4 Great Continents. Xiaohua briefly explained the immortal array. Ingkue was also dumbfounded when he heard that. In the end, Ingkue said embarrassedly, Actually, if I awaken this avatar, he might be able to help you. Xiaohua's eyelids twitched, and he said helplessly, Senior, can't you? However, Xiaohua understood what Ingkue was trying to say. The avatar in front of him was no ordinary avatar. It was the avatar of Emperor Tian Huang. In order to atone for his sins, Ingkue had already sworn an oath that he would have to stay in the mortal world for a long time to atone for his sins. If he could form a good relationship with Emperor Tian Huang, it would be beneficial to his future cultivation. Of course, Ingkue's words were not without reason. Emperor Tian Huang was a powerful figure in the heavenly court. His avatars in the 4 Great Continents might not know about the immortal array, but his avatars in other realms might. Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, How about I discuss this with my fellow Taoists and give you an answer in the future? Inkue nodded and said, I hope you can give me an answer in 3 years. All right. Xiaohua agreed. He looked at the 9 dragons' coffin and asked, There's no need to close it, right? Of course. Inkue hurriedly replied. Just put it in your storage space. The turtle shell I gave you is the best. And Xiaohua put away the 9 dragons' coffin, looked into the distance and said to Inkue, I'm going to meet the cultivators of the Donrain continent. Senior, do you want to go with me? Of course. Inkue said indifferently. You haven't told me why you want to break the array. Senior. Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, Because of my appearance, you didn't succeed in the blood sacrifice, but you destroyed the Sky Patrol City, the Sword Tomb, and other places. Many sword cultivators and Taoist cultivators died. If you can apologize in person, perhaps it'll be better for you to atone for your sins. Inkue frowned and thought for a moment, then shook his head and said, I'm sorry. I know you're thinking for me. Maybe I can do it in the future, but I can't do it now. If that's the case. Xiaohua thought for a moment and said, Senior, you can fly at the end. If I don't mention it, the cultivators of the Donrain continent won't think of it. Inkue nodded and said, Then I'll have to trouble you. Senior, you're welcome. Xiaohua smiled faintly, waved his hand, and said to Taoist sorcerer and the others, Let's go. Fellow Taoist, please. Tianren glanced at Inkue and stood in front of him, raising his hand to ask Xiaohua to go first. Xiaohua knew that Tianren was narrow-minded, so he smiled and flew toward the sects of the 3 kingdoms of cultivation. Xiaohua and Inkue shook hands and made peace, but the aftermath of the battle was still there. At this time, the Sky Patrol City, the Sword Tomb, the mountains, and the snowy plains were all gone. Only the messy ground was covered with cracks. In the direction of the Sword Tomb, the sword masters of the various sword sects of the Hung country had already arrived with their disciples. They were different from the Kunlun sect's sect master Xianjing and the Splendid sect's sect master Yangyu. They had also received the news that the Fortune Gate's disciples had besieged the Sky Patrol City, but they didn't care. Firstly, they didn't believe that the Fortune Gate's disciples would be so stupid as to risk their lives to besiege the Sky Patrol City. Secondly, they didn't think that the Heaven Patrol City's sword cultivators couldn't resist the Fortune Gate's disciples. Most importantly, they wanted to see the Mountain Patrol Sword Sect, the Flying Feather Sect, and the Quilted Mountain Sect's disciples make a fool of themselves. When they received the news that Xiaohua had killed Luo Xingtian and led the Fortune Gate's disciples from the 3 continents to the Sky Patrol City, they were immediately shocked. They wanted to stop the battle between the Sky Patrol City and the Fortune Gate's disciples before Xiaohua arrived. However, under the careful arrangements of the Void Heaven Sword School, the Bright Sword Sect, the High Wind Sword Sect, and the Yi family, they were still too late. Seeing the battle qi covering the Sky Patrol City, as well as the awe-inspiring qi, how could they not know that they were too late? However, even a spirit sword swordsman as strong as Rosie Butterfly was a little confused. She had never seen such a battle formation in her life. How could it be caused by the Sky Patrol City's disciples and the Fortune Gate's disciples? Just as they were feeling apprehensive and didn't know whether to advance or retreat, in the distant sky, countless auras that made them tremble with fear appeared. These auras were as powerful as the gods, and they were 3 times stronger than the divine sword auras recorded in their sword slips. Therefore, all the sword cultivators trembled and wanted to escape. At that time, the Xianyuan sword pierced through the sky, and the unparalleled divine sword force caused all the sword cultivators' flying swords to produce sword cries. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't control the sword intent. Even after the heaven and earth shook and the Xianyuan sword's aura disappeared, the sword qi around them was still like boiling water, churning for a long time, unable to be suppressed. Half a day later, the qi of heaven and earth faded slightly. A group of swordsmen gathered around a few spiritual swords, and were just about to discuss when they saw a demon flapping its wings in the distant sky. An aura that was like a tidal wave surged toward them, scaring them out of their wits. In their knowledge, when had they ever seen such a ferocious demon race? Just as everyone was trembling with fear and didn't know how to face it, and didn't know what would happen to them, That demon actually used the language of the Dawn Rain continent to instruct indifferently. This old man is a good friend of spiritual master Xiao. Come with me. Rosy Butterfly and the other spirit sword sect cultivators hurriedly suppressed the surging sword chi in their hearts and struggled to fly. Just when they were about to answer, the demon race completely ignored them and turned around to fly into the distance. That demon race was naturally Huang Tong. Although there were many swordsmen in the Huan country, in his eyes, they were just a group of ants. If it weren't for Xiao Hua's order, he would absolutely be too lazy to pay attention to them. Junior obeys. Rosy Butterfly and the others didn't dare to neglect and hurriedly passed down the order. Hundreds of thousands of swordsmen, as well as nearly 1 million swordsmen who received the news, followed Huang Tong and flew in the direction of Sky Patrol City. When they flew closer, they were even more dumbfounded. This was because on the shattered ground in the distance, there were several times more Dao cultivators than the sword cultivators of the Huan country. They were neatly divided into several groups and quietly stood there. Needless to say, the tens of thousands of cultivators in front of them were famous sects from the Shi country, Ming country, and Lian country. Behind them were the slightly weaker sects from the other countries. Behind the three countries' cultivators were millions of low-level disciples. Although the Huan country's sword cultivators didn't recognize these disciples, they already knew that they must be the disciples of the Fortune Gate. As for behind these Fortune Gate disciples, there were hundreds of thousands of cultivators whose auras were more powerful than all the cultivators in front of them combined. When the sword cultivators' eyes and divine sense fell on these cultivators, their eyeballs almost fell out. Because most of these cultivators were Golden Core disciples, if these hundreds of thousands of cultivators swarmed up, no one in the Huan country would be able to deal with them. However, this was not the only thing that surprised them. Just as they stood still, another demon race that looked similar to the one who led the way flew over and landed on the heads of the Golden Core disciples. He said loudly, "Fellow Taoists, Fortune Gate disciples, listen to orders. Under Taoist Zhao's orders, you all are to return to the Kunlun Wonderland." "Yes, we will obey." As the demon race's voice fell, ripples appeared in the void near the Dao sect cultivators. Hundreds of thousands of nascent soul cultivators in armor separated and formed a team in midair. As the demon race waved a magic tool that looked like a bronze mirror in his hand, these teams were sucked into the bronze mirror. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it a tip, and thank you for the Book of Flight for your tip, thank you. Chapter 52:14. Even though Qi Liandia was a spiritual sword, she was so scared that she couldn't even breathe. A nascent soul cultivator was a sect leader in the three countries of the Dawn Rain continent, but in front of this demon, according to Taoist Master Zhao's command, he was just a squad. Could it be this is Taoist Master Zhao's Fortune Gate disciple? All the sword cultivators held their breath and watched quietly. Their hearts were as if struck by lightning, and their curiosity was like a cat scratching at them. They secretly thought, could it be there are other more powerful disciples? The sword cultivators were not disappointed. In the place where their divine sense longed for, more than 100 scattered nascent soul cultivators appeared proudly. Qi Liandia, Ruotian, Cheng Minghua, and Chong Taishi were not calm. These four sword masters who controlled the Heaven One Cyan light sword formation had now advanced to spiritual swords. They looked at more than 100 scattered nascent soul cultivators whose cultivation they couldn't see through. But there were faint lightning bolts rushing out uncontrollably nearby. They were so surprised that their hearts were numb. They clearly knew that if one of these 100 scattered nascent soul cultivators appeared in the Sky Patrol City in the past, the Sky Patrol City must be a Dao cultivator. Fairy Luohua, Taoist Soaring Dragon, were just fleeting clouds. However, the scattered nascent soul cultivators, who were like gods in their eyes, obediently listened to Taoist Master Zhao's command and flew into the bronze mirror and disappeared. Just as these scattered nascent souls disappeared, the distant horizon once again appeared a solid figure as big as a mountain range, with an aura as vast as the sea. There was a bald man who looked like a ferocious god, a valiant dragon with a huge body, a soul warrior with mysterious starlight shining all over his body, and a monk with a compassionate face standing on a ninth-grade lotus throne. These cultivators seemed to have supreme strength in the world, but which one of them was not an all-powerful figure? However, these cultivators were all clustered around a thin Dao sect disciple as they slowly flew over. This cultivator's eyebrows were slanted, and his eyes were like stars. A faint smile hung on the corners of his mouth. Although he didn't speak, that charming smile had spread over the whole earth. Even the moonlight that had just emerged from the clouds in the distant mountains couldn't compare. Moreover, between this cultivator's eyebrows, a faint arrogance and inherent domineering aura involuntarily emerged. When the cultivator's gaze swept over, it leisurely emerged. This was the true demeanor of a king. Even the scorching sun at noon couldn't reach it. Xiaohua. The gazes of millions of human cultivators were all focused on this person, and all of them were chanting the same name in their hearts. Big Brother Xiao. Behind the Fortune Gate disciples, where Yuanya and the Black Bear Spirit were standing proudly, Huang Mengxiang moaned like a love-struck fool. You're finally here. I knew long ago that you would rule the world one day, but I really didn't expect this day to come so quickly. Beside Huang Mengxiang were naturally Li Zongbao and Wuxia. When Wuxia heard this, she frowned slightly and used her right elbow to nudge Fairy Hongxia, who was standing beside her. However, Fairy Hongxia did not pay any attention to Wuxia. Instead, she stared fixedly at Xiaohua's familiar body. Among the millions of cultivators in the Daybreak Rain continent, there was probably no one who was more familiar with this ordinary physical body than her. However, at this moment, this body was standing before everyone and before her eyes. This light made this body seem incomparably glorious, and Fairy Hongxia felt a sense of unfamiliarity. What's wrong with you? Wuxia asked in a low voice. Fairy Hongxia shook her head slightly, as if she had just woken up. She looked at Xiaohua and whispered, Nothing. That's your husband. Wuxia reminded in a low voice. Don't let others snatch him away. I know. Fairy Hongxia bit her lips and replied in a low voice. Yuanya stood at the side, pretending not to have heard anything. However, the Black Bear Spirit smiled loyally and said, Mistress, don't worry. As long as Master has you in his heart, no one can snatch you away. Hearing the Black Bear Spirit with unfathomable strength call her mistress, Fairy Hongxia felt a sense of incredulity. She could not help but whisper, Senior, I haven't. Before Fairy Hongxia could finish speaking, the Black Bear Spirit fell to his knees and kowtowed. Mistress, why are you calling me Senior? If Master finds out, won't he chase me out of the Fortune Gate? Quickly get up, quickly get up. Fairy Hongxia's face was red as she hurriedly waved her hand and said, I won't say any more. Yes, yes. The Black Bear Spirit hurriedly got up and said with a smile, I will listen to Mistress's orders. Seeing how the Black Bear Spirit treated Fairy Hongxia, Huang Mengxiang was extremely jealous. However, whether it was the Black Bear Spirit or Yuanya, they did not even look at her. This made her grit her teeth. At this time, Xiaohua had already flown to the front. As he looked around, he saw that within a few hundred miles, there were millions of cultivators. Some were sword cultivators, some were Dao cultivators, and all of them were unusually respectful. No one dared to make a sound. Xiaohua opened his mouth, wanting to say something. However, before he could say anything, the Black Bear Spirit looked at Yuanya and bowed. Disciple respectfully requests Sect Master to ascend to the throne. How could the Black Bear Spirit have such thoughts? These words must have been taught by Xiongyi. At this time, Xiongyi and Li Xiang also led the disciples and bowed. Sect Master respectfully requests Sect Master to ascend to the throne. Ah! Xiaohua chuckled and waved his sleeves. Boom! A deafening boom reverberated in the air. The throne of creation flew out in a spectacular manner. Tens of thousands of bolts of lightning surged and fell below Xiaohua. This throne of fortune was naturally formed by Xiaohua's divine ability. However, it was real in front of everyone's eyes. When Xiaohua sat down, another thunderous roar could be heard. The throne of fortune soared into the sky, and millions of lights turned into illusions of various colors and fell everywhere. Tens of thousands of lightning bolts rushed into the sky and turned into clouds that enveloped Xiaohua and the others. Seeing such a majestic scene, the Dawn Rain Continent's Fortune Gate disciples who were standing behind the Tao cultivators were ecstatic. At the same time, they knelt in midair and kowtowed. Disciple greets Tao Master Xiao. There were more than 2 million Fortune Gate disciples who came to the Sky Patrol City. Although nearly 30% of them died in the battle with the Sky Patrol City's sword cultivators, there were still more than 1 million disciples. When these million disciples kowtowed in unison, it was like a tsunami. Not to mention the various Taoist cultivation sects. Even the sword cultivator disciples were shocked. Kunlun sect's sect master Xianjing did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly bowed and said, Junior Xianjing greets Tao Master Xiao. Kunlun sect's disciples also bowed and said, Junior greets Tao Master Xiao. Seeing that Xianjing had spoken and the Kunlun sect's disciples bowed, all the other Tao cultivators' sect masters and disciples came to their senses and bowed. Junior greets Tao Master Xiao. When the Tao cultivators bowed, the various sword cultivators also hurriedly bowed and said, Junior greets Tao Master Xiao. In an instant, millions of cultivators bowed and millions of disciples knelt. All the Dawn Rain Continent's cultivators were kneeling in front of Xiaohua. Li Zongbao, Kai Wuxia, Fairy Hongxia, Huang Mengxiang, and the others naturally did not bow. However, when they stood in the sea of people, they appeared so small. Huang Mengxiang's eyes flickered with a dreamy luster, while Fairy Hongxia's eyes revealed an indescribable expression. Facing so many cultivators bowing, Xiaohua did not feel uneasy. He raised his hands and circulated his divine ability. Millions of cultivators felt as if a pair of invisible arms had appeared in front of them, slowly lifting them up. Tao Master Xiao. Although they were so far away from Xiaohua, the Fortune Gate's disciples had never felt so close. The God in their hearts was so close that they felt as if he was personally lifting them up. Therefore, some of the disciples who had not stood up were already crying and shouting, Tao Master Xiao, you're finally back. Xiaohua looked at these devout disciples. The crystal-like Godhead behind his head emitted a faint light, and the power of faith surged into his body even more fervently than before. Xiaohua looked at the Fortune Gate's disciples and smiled. Yes, this Xiao is back. In the future, all of you will really be my Fortune Gate's disciples. Tao Master Xiao. All the Dawn Rain Continent's Fortune Gate's disciples wanted to shout something, wanted to say something, but all the words that reached their mouths were blocked. It was as if 1,000 words could not compare to the 3 words Tao Master Xiao. A soundless cry was born from the bottom of their hearts. Xiaohua smiled faintly. Although his figure moved slightly, the millions of disciples felt as if they saw Xiaohua land in front of them. The face that had been clearly engraved in their hearts suddenly appeared in front of them. All the disciples' faces flushed red, and they were unable to control themselves. All of you have worked hard. Xiaohua spoke again. When this Xiao was not on the Dawn Rain Continent, all of you actually developed the Fortune Gate into such a force. This Xiao is truly grateful. Tao Master Xiao. All the disciples choked again. But Xiaohua changed the topic. Now that the Dawn Rain Continent's other sects and sword cultivators are here, this Xiao will talk to them about official matters first. When the official matters are over, this Xiao will talk to all of you about my Fortune Gate's private matters. How about it? Disciples dare not delay Tao Master Xiao. All the disciples were moved to tears. Xiaohua's words showed that he did not treat them as outsiders at all. Thinking back to how Xiongyi and Li Xiang had led the Fortune Gate's disciples, the disciples' hearts burned with passion. After appeasing the Fortune Gate's disciples, Xiaohua looked at Fairy Hongxia and smiled faintly. He then swept his gaze over Li Zongbao, Kai Wuxia, Zhang Qingxiao, Huang Mengxiang, and the others. He then looked at the Mountain Patrol Sword Sect, Flying Feather Sect, and Quilted Mountain Sect that were guarding the Heaven Patrol City, as well as the Void Heaven Sword Sect, Bright Sword Sect, and High Wind Sword Sect that were attacking the Fortune Gate's disciples. He said indifferently, You all either fell for Yi Yaotian's trick, or you colluded with Yi Yaotian to fight my Fortune Gate's disciples in front of the Heaven Patrol City. Let's not talk about the outcome of this battle. Your hands are stained with the blood of my Fortune Gate's disciples. Before Xiaohua could finish, the sword cultivator's face changed and he hurriedly bowed again. We have made a big mistake, please punish us. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, bookmark it, and Chapter 52:15. Xiaohua said coldly, a debt of blood should be paid with blood. But seeing that all of you have fallen into Yi Yaotian's trap, and Yi Yaotian has already been executed, this Xiao will no longer pursue the death penalty. I hope that all of you will take this as a warning to cultivate more in the future, and kill less. Yes, yes. The sword cultivators were terrified and lowered their heads in agreement. As for the rest of you, Xiaohua looked at the Seven Skills sect, Xuanyan school, and the Cleansing Flower sect, and said, what do you think of my fortune gate's current strength? Spiritual Master Yang Yu's eyes turned and he hurriedly answered, Spiritual Master, your fortune gate is already the #1 sect on the Dawn Rain mainland. It won't be a problem for you to sweep through the 3 countries. Then what if my fortune gate exterminates the Seven Skills sect? Xiaohua asked indifferently. As the Seven Skills sect master, what do you think? Sweat dripped from Spiritual Master Yang Yu's forehead. He opened his mouth, but his mouth was dry. He didn't know how to answer. Behind Spiritual Master Yang Yu, Spiritual Master Yi Xian, Spiritual Master Wu Hongzi, and Spiritual Master Jing Huan were sweating profusely. They didn't dare to raise their heads lest Xiaohua asked them. Yes, although your sect is weak, it is still your foundation. You naturally don't want my fortune gate to exterminate your sect. Xiaohua didn't expect them to answer. He continued, judging from this, you should understand the thoughts of the lightning-controlling sects Fairy Xianhua and the others. Of course, you can also say that you were instigated by the falling star sky. But ask yourselves if you didn't have selfish thoughts in your heart. How could you have fallen into his trap? Yes, yes. Spiritual Master Yang Yu originally wanted to say that he was deceived by Qi Jianghai, but seeing Xiaohua's imposing manner, he didn't dare to quibble. He could only agree submissively. With this Zhao's current strength, it would be a loss of this Zhao's face to bicker with you. Xiaohua continued, but if this Xiao doesn't bicker with you, it would be a loss of my fortune gate's face. Sect heads, how do you think this Xiao should handle this? Seeing Xiaohua let go of the Void Heaven Sword School and the other sword cultivators, and make things difficult for the 4 sects of the state of Xi, not to mention Taoist Yang Yu and the others, even Xianjing didn't understand. However, a moment later, Xianjing had an idea. He quickly bowed and said, Taoist Xiao, although Junior didn't participate in the siege of the Imperial Thunder School, Junior received a message from Falling Star Sky in the Kunlun Mountains. He wanted Junior to make things difficult for the Rock Border School. However, Junior thinks that since we are all cultivators of the state of Lian, there's nothing we can do about it. Therefore, I didn't agree. Today the Xianghua sect and the other 4 sects in the country of Xi are too selfish and caused internal strife in the country of Xi. Taoist Yang Yu and the others immediately understood what Xiaohua was trying to say. They knew that Xiaohua hated internal strife the most. Xiaohua could let go of the blood feud between the Heavenly Patrol City and the Fortune Gate, but he could not let go of the Xi country's 4 sects besieging the Imperial Thunder sect. Therefore Reverend Yang Yu, Reverend Yi Xian, Reverend Wu Hongzi, and Reverend Jing Huan did not dare to be negligent. They hurriedly knelt in midair and said in unison, Reverend Xiao, we were wrong. We hereby swear that we won't dare to cause any more trouble in the future. Xiaohua smiled slightly, helped them up, and said, there's no need for an oath. I'm warning you today because I want you to understand that among the Dao cultivators, the country of Xi is one, the country of Meng is one, and the country of Lian is also one. If compared with the sword cultivators, the 3 countries of cultivation are also one. In this great war of Dao sword, you all did very well. However, if compared with the Liu Immortal Alliance that is 1,000,000 miles away from the Meng Mountains, the sword cultivators and the Dao cultivators are also one. With that, Xiaohua raised his hand and pointed in the direction of the Kuei He Si, and said, if compared with the Confucian cultivators, the Buddhist sect, and the demon clan on the other side of the sea, the cultivators of my Xiaoyu continent are also one. Xianjing and the others were puzzled. However, Xiaohua did not explain. He pointed to the sky again and said, but if compared with the demon clan in the 10,000 demon realm, the human cultivators, whether it is the Tao cultivators, the Confucian cultivators, the Buddhist sect, or the soul cultivators, are all one. Even under the current great calamity of the world, we are also one. If we don't work together, how can we pass down our Tao teachings? How can we continue our bloodline? As soon as Xiaohua said this, within several hundred miles, whether it was the sword cultivators or the Tao cultivators, whether they understood or were ignorant, all bowed and said, yes, what Daoist Xiao said is right, we all understand. Good. Xiaohua's wisdom eyes had been open long ago. Looking at the crowd, he did not point it out. His gaze fell on the heavenly demon 13 sect's disciples. He looked at Zhang Qingxiao meaningfully and said, this world can be divided into heaven and earth, yin and yang, and naturally can also be divided into good and evil. Who is good and who is evil, who is right and who is wrong, this Xiao does not dare to say. I'm afraid only the heavenly Tao knows. Since the heavenly demon sect can exist now, there is naturally a reason for its existence. If Sect Master Zhang has great talent and vision, he can manage the heavenly demon sect in an orderly manner. This Xiao will not interfere too much with the development of the heavenly demon sect, and also will not let the fortune gate force the freedom of the heavenly demon sect's disciples too much. What Zhang Qingxiao wanted was for Xiaohua to acknowledge the heavenly demon sect in front of the entire Dawn Rain mainland's Tao cultivators. At this time, he was overjoyed to hear Xiaohua's words. He quickly bowed and said, this one is very happy to receive Taoist Zhao's high opinion. This one really did not know that the Earth Fiend sect, Earth Spirit sect, and Renhua sect had besieged the Fortune Gate's disciples. This one originally came to ask for forgiveness, but before this one could say anything, Daoist Xiao had already forgiven them. Although this one is happy, there is also fear in my heart. The 3 sects' ordinary disciples can be pardoned, but the 3 sects' sect masters must be killed. Of course, this matter will be dealt with by this one. There is no need for Daoist Xiao to think too much. Xiaohua nodded and said, Sect Master Zhang is considerate. Also, Zhang Qingxiao continued, this one feels that he was not strict enough and offended the Fortune Gate. This is this one's fault. Therefore today, in front of Daoist Xiao and all the cultivators in the world, this one passes the sect master's position to Yi Yin, and asks Daoist Xiao and the other sect masters to be witnesses. Lord Sect Master. Yi Yin was shocked and hurriedly flew out shouting, how can you? Zhang Qingxiao smiled and said, this one has offended Daoist Xiao, so naturally, this one must ask for forgiveness. I hope that the heavenly demon sect can flourish in your hands. Of course, you must know how to sit on the sect master's position, and what you should do in the future. Yes. Seeing that Zhang Qingxiao had made up his mind, Yi Yin bowed and said, disciple knows what to do. And Xiaohua nodded and said, since this is the case, this one will not say anything about the heavenly demon sect's matter. I believe that my Fortune Gate's sect masters will handle it themselves. Thank you, Daoist Xiao. Zhang Qingxiao and Yi Yin bowed at the same time, and retreated into the crowd. Finally, Xiaohua looked around, looking at the other sword cultivator and Tao cultivator sects, and said loudly, everyone, this one is very grateful that all of you came from all over the Dawn Rain mainland to support my Fortune Gate. This one has not set foot on the Dawn Rain mainland for more than 700 years. Since I suddenly returned today, naturally, I have something to say to all of you. Even if all of you did not come today, this one would have chosen another day to gather all the sect masters for a discussion. Since all the Dawn Rain mainland sects are here today, then there's no better time than the present. He did not know what this Tao had to do with thanking the disciples of the Taiqing sect. However, Xianjing of the Kunlun sect was different. When he just heard the first sentence from Xiaohua's mouth, his heart immediately trembled. Without hesitation, he sat down cross-legged, turned his 5 hearts to the sky, and closed 4 of his 5 senses. Only his ears were left, and he listened attentively. The Kunlun sect was indeed worthy of being a sect passed down from ancient times. Seeing Xianjing like this, the other Yuanying disciples immediately woke up. They did not care about anything else, and immediately sat down cross-legged and listened carefully. When the Kunlun sect was like this, Taoist Yuqing and other leaders of the Taoist cultivation countries woke up and hurriedly sat down cross-legged. There were also leaders who whispered to their disciples to listen to the lecture. As for the sword cultivators, strong spiritual swords such as Butterfly and Zhuaming were also stunned at first. Even if they heard it clearly, they still did not understand. After half a cup of tea's time, these spiritual swords suddenly changed their faces and revealed their swords to listen. When the spiritual swords were like this, the transforming sword and illusory sword were even slower. When they woke up and listened to the lecture, it was already a cup of tea's time later. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to the Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, and thank all forms of support. Chapter 52:16. Naturally, the disciples of the Fortune Gate were different from the other sections. Whether it was the disciples of the Soaring Dragon Mountain Range led by Xiong Yi or the Fortune Gate disciples of the Dawn Rain Continent, they all regarded Xiaohua as a god. Xiaohua's preaching was like a golden rule to them. After a few words, they immediately understood. Under the moonlight, the night sky near Sentry City was unusually quiet. There was no snow, no wind, no rain, and no fog. The stars in the sky shone brightly, reflecting the brilliance of the cultivators on the ground. The whole world was shrouded in an indescribable Tao. Xiaohua's words were like gurgling water that flowed into the ears of millions of Dawn Rain Continent cultivators, and slowly nourished their hungry and thirsty hearts. Tao was fate, and the depth of this fate was not only in the comprehension of Tao, but also in the epiphany. Millions of cultivators heard the same words, but their hearts were different. There was joy on the faces of the Fortune Gate disciples, bitterness on the faces of the cultivators from the three countries, sadness on the faces of the sword cultivators from the Huan country, and realization on the faces of the heavenly demon sect disciples. For a time, all kinds of feelings appeared on the faces of the cultivators, day and night appeared, and the sun rose. Xiaohua looked around with a smile and finally said, "The Tao has a heart, and it is divided into good and evil. Using a kind heart to use the Tao, there will be good results. Using evil thoughts to use the Tao, there will be bad results." Today, this Xiaohua preaches and hopes that the cultivators of the Dawn Rain Continent will use good results as their thoughts and tread on the Tao with kindness. After he finished speaking, Xiaohua sat on the throne of fortune, looked up at the sun, and said one word, "Good." As soon as this word came out, it immediately turned into thousands of words, like butterflies flying everywhere. Millions of cultivators were near and far, but the word good did not fall far. Almost at the same time, millions of good words entered the heads of all the cultivators. Dang! Everyone was startled awake and raised their heads to look at Xiaohua. Just at this moment, the gentle sunlight shone on Xiaohua's body. The throne of fortune's lightning flashed in the sunlight like a dancing dragon. Xiaohua's benevolence and magnanimity subdued tens of thousands of cultivators. Without waiting for the Fortune Gate's disciples to open their mouths, all the sword cultivators and Tao cultivators knelt in midair and kowtowed in thanks. Disciples thank Master Xiao. Xiaohua smiled faintly. His charm in the sunlight was unparalleled for a moment. He patted the throne of creation he sat on, and rumbling sounds rang out. Countless lightning hands appeared out of thin air, and lifted up everyone who had fallen to their knees. His voice, brimming with compassion, rang out again. "Everyone please rise. I, Xiaohua, have received the great favor of heaven and earth. I have cultivated to transcend tribulation, and become the supreme ruler of humanity. This is my fortuitous opportunity, but it is also a gift from the heavenly Tao. Therefore, I do not dare to enjoy the heavenly Tao alone. I will share my understanding of the heavenly Tao with the world. I hope that everyone can obtain the grace of the heavenly Tao and step into the ranks of the great Tao." Tribulation, tribulation? Human Mahayana realm? The several million cultivators were stunned on the spot. Xiaohua ignored everyone's shock and continued. I was born in the Donrain mainland. Although I have only cultivated to the Gold Core realm, my roots are in the Donrain mainland. I have traveled through the 3 mainlands, the hidden immortal continent, the Western Paradise, the Thousand Demons Sacred Realm, the 10,000 Demons World, and the Qilin mainland. Today, I have returned to the Donrain mainland, which is also the Yilin mainland's Heaven Alliance and Dao Alliance's Lost Land. I saw an unknown cultivator from the Defeat Immortal Alliance in the Starfall Heavens. He actually stirred up trouble on my Donrain mainland, so I took action to eradicate him. Today, the Dao that I have imparted to you is in the hands of my Fortune Gates disciples. In the future, you can look for my Fortune Gates sect master. They will definitely teach you according to your circumstances. The cultivators were wild with joy and bowed. Thank you, Daoist Xiao, for your generosity. However, Xiaohua changed the topic and said, however, I obtained this Dao from the 3 mainlands. Today, I am announcing this Dao to the public on behalf of the 3 mainlands Dao cultivators, and even the human race. I sincerely request the Donrain mainland's cultivators to use the inheritance of Dao cultivators and the human race's bloodline to save the 3 mainlands' billions of lives. Xiaohua didn't mention saving the world, nor did he ask for anything in return. He only preached the Dao for one night, then threw out the Dao cultivation method, and finally asked all the Donrain mainland's cultivators to lend a helping hand. The cultivator's blood was already boiling. Xianjing shouted, Daoist Xiao, if you have any instructions, just say it. As long as Daoist Xiao gives the order, my Kunlun sect's disciples will definitely. Without waiting for Xianjing to finish, Daoist Yuqing also said in a clear voice, previously, Daoist Xiao has said clearly that you need the help of my Tai Ching sect. Now Daoist Xiao can say it clearly. My Tai Ching sect doesn't say anything about the human race's bloodline or Dao cultivator inheritance. We will use the entire sect's strength to save the world. The other sword cultivators were all impassioned. Good. Xiaohua clapped his hands and said, since that's the case, I thank everyone on behalf of the 3 continents' human race. Everyone, please calm down and listen to this Zhao's explanation. After everyone calmed down a little, Xiaohua told them about the calamity of the 3 continents in full detail. He also told them about the situation of the 10,000 Demon Realm and the Yilin mainland. Until now, the Donrain mainland's cultivators finally understood that the world was so big. The Donrain mainland that they regarded as the world was just a lost land of the Yilin mainland. And the entire enormous Yilin mainland was just a corner of the 4 great continents. In the east of the Guihe Sea, there were the boundless 3 continents and 3 rivers and 4 seas. Even outside of the 4 great continents, there was a 10,000 demon realm that was dominated by the demon race. However, all of this was isolated by a large array that might exist. They lived under the protection of this large array. In just a moment, the various sect leaders frowned again. The ordinary cultivators of the Donrain mainland might not think too much, but the sect leaders couldn't help but think more. The outside of the Donrain mainland was so exciting, but how much excitement was left for them? After the large array was broken, the various sects would come to find them. What would the cultivators of the Donrain mainland, and even the various sects do? Xiaohua had already thought about it. He looked around and said, perhaps some cultivators feel that what does the destruction of the 3 continents have to do with our Donrain mainland? We're content to stay in a corner and cultivate ourselves. However, why don't you think about it? If the large array wasn't broken, our Donrain mainland would forever be a lost land, forever forgotten by Dao cultivators. Just a cultivator from the Immortal Alliance who wasn't famous could become the Vice Alliance leader of the Immortal Alliance in our Donrain mainland. Falling Star Heaven is still considered good. They also have misgivings about the other cultivators of the Immortal Alliance and haven't run amok. If there was an unreasonable person, the current Donrain mainland would already be a bloody scene. Besides, isn't this Xiao a living example? If this Xiao hadn't left the Donrain mainland, in these 1,000 years, I would have cultivated to the nascent soul realm at most. How could I have reached the tribulation transcendence realm? This Xiao is only one step ahead. After me, there's still all of you and your descendants. Buzz. Hearing this, All the cultivators' blood boiled, and they couldn't help but whisper. Xiaohua had a smile on his face and didn't stop them, allowing them to let their imaginations run wild. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, everyone calmed down again. Xiaohua spoke again. The ancients have a saying, viewing the sky from the bottom of a well. Therefore, breaking the large array and helping the 3 continents save the world not only helps the billions of living beings in the 3 continents, but also helps the cultivation of us Tao cultivators. The outside world is so big, and there are so many opportunities. How can we be content in a corner? Be ants in the eyes of others? Zhuo Ming and Zhuo Lingjian hurriedly bowed at this time and said, Tao Master Xiao. This junior schemed against the fortune gate and offended Tao Master. However, after hearing Tao Master's words, this junior knows that this was not only because of my personal interests, but also because this junior's knowledge is shallow. If there is such a world in the east of the heavenly sea, how could this junior lay his hands on his own people? Since Tao Master has said so clearly, this junior already understands. If Tao Master has any instructions, just say it. This junior will do his best to help. Good. This Xiao thanks Zhuo Lingjian on behalf of the cultivators of the 3 continents. Xiaohua helped Zhuo Ming up with a smile and said, However, this Xiao also wants to be honest. This Xiao wants to ask for everyone's help. However, this Xiao doesn't know how to help. After all, this large array is innate and not something that can be done by humans. Therefore, this Xiao explained the reason in detail to everyone. Please pay attention and see if you know anything related to the large array. This junior understands. Zhuo Ming hurriedly turned and ordered. Quickly, pass down Tao Master Zhao's order. If any disciple of the High Wind Sword sect can provide information about the large array, this old man will reward them handsomely. Since Zhuo Ming said so, the other sword cultivators and Tao cultivators also passed down the order. Then Xiaohua looked at Tao Master Yuqing of the Tai Ching sect and said, Tao Master Yuqing, this junior is here. Tao Master Yuqing hurriedly bowed and said, Senior, what instructions do you have? Xiaohua waved his hand and a storage bag flew in front of Tao Master Yuqing and said, This is a greeting gift from this Xiao to the Tai Ching sect. Please accept it. What is this? Tao Master Yuqing was somewhat puzzled, but Xianjing's eyelids twitched. Take a look first. Xiaohua replied with a smile. Tao Master Yuqing opened the storage bag and took a look. Naturally, his expression changed greatly. An indescribable ecstasy appeared in his eyes. Senior. Tao Master Yuqing suppressed the ecstasy in his heart and carefully put away the storage bag. He looked at Xiaohua and said respectfully, I wonder what my Tai Ching sect can do for the 3 continents. The 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man. Xiaohua looked at Tao Master Yuqing and said word by word. Tao Master Yuqing was stunned, as if he didn't understand. He asked curiously, The 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man? Tao Master, what do you mean by this? Xiaohua said with a smile, Although this Xiao doesn't know how to break this Xiantian large array, this Xiao already has some ideas. I know that to break this large array, one has to topple the Tai Ching sect's 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man. This. Tao Master Yuqing was shocked and cried out, How is this possible? My Tai Ching sect is in Ming country. The Xiantian large array that Tao Master Xiao said is in the Qianhe Sea. How can my Tai Ching sect's 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man be related to the large array? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, and thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 52:17. In front of all the cultivators of the Donrain continent, Xiaohua couldn't explain the immortal formation in detail, but he still explained the phenomenon of the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks, as well as his own inference. Finally he said, Therefore, although I know that the formation can be broken by toppling the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks, I don't know how to topple it, and whether the several supreme cultivators who came with me can topple it. That's why I asked the cultivators of the Donrain continent to help me find clues to break the formation. But no matter what, the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks, I'm afraid we can't protect them. The things in the storage pouch can be considered my compensation to the Tai Ching sect. The heaven, earth, and mortal peaks were the key to breaking the formation, and toppling these 3 peaks was imperative. Therefore, Xiaohua didn't waste any time on pleasantries, and looked at Taoist Yuqing with bright eyes. Taoist Yuqing's mouth was bitter, and his heart was filled with regret. He knew that Xiaohua must have a request from the Tai Ching sect, and he was prepared to use the Tai Ching sect's power to help Xiaohua. But he absolutely didn't expect that the Tai Ching sect would pay the price of toppling the heaven, earth, and mortal peaks. The heaven, earth, and mortal peaks were the foundation of the Tai Ching sect's 3 sects. How could they be toppled just like that? Taoist Yuqing had an impulse to return the storage pouch, but looking at Xiaohua's gaze, in front of all the cultivators of the Donrain continent, Taoist Yuqing hesitated. At this time, Xianjing hurriedly said, Taoist Xiao, Junior doesn't know what my Kunlun sect can do for the 3 continents, and Junior also hasn't heard about the innate formation, but my Kunlun sect has a Kunlun secret realm that only the sect masters can enter. My Kunlun sect is willing to invite Taoist Xiao to the Kunlun secret realm, hoping to obtain information about the innate formation from there. Good. Xiaohua nodded slightly and said with a smile, I accept Kunlun sect's good intentions. In the future, Kunlun sect will be my Fortune Gate's ally. After this matter, please contact my Fortune Gate's Fortune Gate. For the matters of the Donrain continent, my Fortune Gate will advance and retreat with Kunlun sect. Thank you, Taoist Xiao. Xianjing was overjoyed and hurriedly thanked him. On the other hand, Taoist Yuqing's heart trembled, and he instantly came to a realization. The person in front of him was the supreme being of the human race, the #1 person on the Donrain continent. The Fortune Gate that he controlled was the #1 force on the Donrain continent. Not to mention his Tai Ching sect. Even the entire Dao cultivation sect combined wouldn't be a match for him. The other party had taken out a storage pouch in front of all the cultivators in the world, and he had made a promise in front of all the cultivators in the world. How could he go back on his word now? Even if the other party didn't explain it to him, and directly went to the Tai Ching sect to topple the 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man, what could he do? There were billions of living beings in the 3 continents. All righteousness seemed insignificant in front of these billions of living beings. Not to mention, just a moment ago, this human supreme and the Fortune Gate he controlled had resisted the unknown blood formation, and saved him and the entire Dao cultivator sect from the brink of death. Thinking of this, Taoist Yuqing immediately made a decision. He bowed and said, reporting to Taoist Xiao, in order to save the billions of lives in the 3 continents, all the disciples of my Tai Ching sect are willing to listen to Taoist Xiao's orders and do anything, even if it means toppling the 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man. However, all the disciples of my 3 sects are on the 3 peaks. I have to explain this matter to them and evacuate everything on the 3 peaks. Therefore, I hope Senior can give me some time. A smile appeared on Xiaohua's face. He rose from the throne of fortune and cupped his fists, saying, on behalf of the billions of lives in the 3 continents, I thank the Tai Ching sect for the sacrifice you have made for them. I won't say anything unnecessary. Just tell me whatever conditions the Tai Ching sect has. I dare not say too much, but as long as it's within my power, I'll agree to it. On behalf of the Dragon Island and the Dragon Clan of the 4 Seas, I'll agree to it as long as it's within my power. Taoist Yin took a step forward and said majestically. Taoist Wu also took a step forward with a smile on his face and said, on behalf of the millions of soul cultivators of Meng Mountain and Wuming Mountain, although they were not harmed by the apocalypse, we soul cultivators will agree to whatever conditions the Tai Ching sect has. Namo Maitreya Buddha. Maitreya Buddha stepped forward and said, on behalf of the Buddha, I'll agree to whatever conditions the Tai Ching sect has. Caw-caw. The phoenix parasol flew out, its enormous wings covering the sky as it shouted, this Taoist is the #1 great sage of the 1,000 demons sacred realm. This Taoist will represent the demons of the 1,000 demons sacred realm, and agree to any conditions of the Tai Ching sect. Hee hee, if that's the case. The celestial also flew out, shaking his head as he cried out. On behalf of the old man Gaochen of the Immortal Palace, I promise you that the Confucian cultivators of the hidden immortal continent will agree to whatever conditions the Taiqing sect has, and will also agree to any cultivators who can help break the formation. The various supremes revealed their cultivation realm and strength one by one. Waves of supreme aura shrouded the surrounding 10,000 li like a tidal wave. In the originally gloomy sky, hurricanes howled as all kinds of strange phenomena appeared one after another. Some were covered in dragon patterns, some were filled with stars and moons, and some were paved with Buddhist light. Once again, everyone was dumbfounded. A moment later, the Taiqing sect's Taoist Yu Qing smiled bitterly and said, "The things Taoist Xiao gave me in the storage pouch have far exceeded this junior's expectations. As for the specific conditions, this junior can't say. However, please rest assured, this junior also guarantees in front of all the cultivators in the world that my Taiqing sect's disciples will not use this as a threat to make excessive demands." "That's great," Xiaohua said with a smile. "In a few days, I'll lead everyone to the Taiqing sect to visit Taoist Yu Qing. At that time, we'll discuss how to break the formation together." "All right, this junior will wait for senior's arrival at the Taiqing sect." Taoist Yu Qing bowed and retreated into the crowd. Xiaohua looked at the crowd and then at his feet. Finally, he raised his voice and said, "Everyone, my Fortune Gate's disciples are too many. If we were to place them anywhere in the cultivation world, it would cause a change in the strength of the four countries. Now that the Sky Patrol City is gone and this 10,000 li snow domain is in ruins, this Xiao wants to establish the Fortune Gate here. What do you think?" When Taoist He Ping heard this, he immediately smiled and bowed. "Taoist Xiao, you think too much. Although the Fortune Gate is an iron army, they are also benevolent and righteous. We Tao cultivators would welcome them anywhere in the cultivation world. Why do we have to establish a sect in this bitter cold place?" Chong Taishu and the other spirit swordsmen smiled bitterly. However, they looked at each other and bowed. "We have no objection to where Senior wants to establish the sect. If we temporarily place it near the Sky Patrol City, it would be convenient for us Tao cultivators to send messages to the Fortune Gate to break the formation. What Spiritual Master He Ping said just now is not wrong. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth in this place is not as abundant as in other places. Please reconsider." "Aha." Xiaohua waved his hand and said, "The Fortune Gate's disciples I brought today are only 1% of my Fortune Tao Palace's disciples. The other disciples have already established their sects in the West Sea. If the formation is broken, all of my Fortune Gate's disciples will return to the West Sea. If the formation is not broken, then my Fortune Gate will consider establishing a sect here." 10%? Everyone was shocked again. While everyone was still in shock, Zhang Qingxiao flew over and bowed. "Taoist Xiao, I have already said that I am here to ask for forgiveness. However, I have just checked. My Heavenly Demon Sect's 4th Sect's Earth Fiend Sect's Deputy Sect's Yuzhong Kuei, the 6th Sect's Earth Spirit Sect's Deputy Sect's Yangji, and the 8th Sect's Renhua Sect's Deputy Sect's Yao Qingxi have all fallen in the battle. The other 3 sects' disciples are here under orders. They cannot be blamed. Sect Master Zhang is too polite." Xiaohua smiled. However, Zhang Qingxiao continued, "I have also said that I am not strict with my subordinates. I must take responsibility for this. Therefore, I have also said that I will pass the Heavenly Demon Sect's sect master's position to Yi Yin in front of Taoist Xiao and all the cultivators in the world. I will no longer be involved in the Heavenly Demon Sect's matters. Since Taoist Xiao is so straightforward, I will not delay any further." And Xiaohua nodded and said, "This is Sect Master Zhang's choice. I am very pleased. The previous grievances between my Fortune Gate and the Heavenly Demon Sect will be written off today." "Where is Yi Yin?" Zhang Qingxiao shouted. Zhang Qingxiao had already discussed the rules with Yi Yin when he proposed to pass the position in front of everyone. Yi Yin did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly stepped out and bowed. "Disciple is here. From today onwards, you are the Heavenly Demon Sect's sect master. Everything in the Heavenly Demon Sect will be handed over to you. Zhang Qingxiao raised his hand and brushed Yi Yin's forehead as he said, "From today onwards, everything in the Heavenly Demon Sect has nothing to do with me. Lord Sect Master." Zhang Qingxiao had already said this before, but at that time he did not really give up the position of Sect Master. At this time, before Yi Yin could speak, all the Heavenly Demon Sect's disciples knelt down and kowtowed. "Please take back your words. The Heavenly Demon Sect was built by you. My Heavenly Demon Sect cannot be without Lord Sect Master." Zhang Qingxiao's heart instantly softened, and 2 lines of heroic tears fell uncontrollably. Xiaohua smiled slightly and said, "Sect Master Zhang, although this Xiao has just returned to the Dawn Rain mainland, this Xiao has heard from the Thunder Control Sect and other cultivators that although the Heavenly Demon Sect has some evil deeds, your reputation is still resounding. Since the Heavenly Demon Sect's disciples can't leave you and this little friend, you can't take over the Heavenly Demon Sect for a while. You might as well be the Grand Sect Master for the time being." Zhang Qingxiao was naturally reluctant to leave the Heavenly Demon Sect, but his situation was different, and he had to leave. After hearing Xiaohua's words, he pondered for a moment and nodded. "Since that's the case, this one will listen to Daoist Xiao and temporarily be the Grand Sect Master of the Heavenly Demon Sect. However, this one will let Yi Yin take care of all the sect's affairs." In the future, hand over the disciples to the 2 leaders, Xiong Yi and Li Xiang, and focus on your cultivation. As Xiaohua spoke, he waved his hand and placed several storage pouches in front of the 3 of them, saying, "This old man will have a specialized disciple guide you." "Thank you, spiritual master." Zhong Haoran, Zhong Zhan, and Fei Yunshu heaved a long sigh of relief and kowtowed to express their gratitude. "You can leave." Xiaohua nodded. He looked at Wang Jianqing and the others and said, "Come over here." Although there were many Fortune Gate disciples, their strength was too weak. In just a short while, Fishing Isles Suchong, Heavenly Competitive Pavilions Zhuahong, Bright Wisdom Pavilions Wucheng, and Yuanfeng Stronghold Zhouji had all fallen. Only Chuhong Factions Wang Jianqing, Cloud Pavilion Fort Suzhonglin, Burning Crane Societies Xiaoming, and Yansun Manor's Cheng Jizi were still alive. Hearing Xiaohua's words, no one dared to be negligent. They hurried over and kowtowed in greeting. "Although this old man doesn't know any of you." Xiaohua looked at them and smiled. "Since you all consider yourselves Fortune Gate disciples, then this old man will not be partial to you. Here are immortal peaches, replenish your lifespan first." Disciples thanked the sect chief. Wang Jianqing and the others received the immortal peaches and said, "Although disciples consider ourselves Fortune Gate disciples, there are still selfish desires in our hearts. From today onwards, disciples will offer all disciples to the sect chief, and dare to be ordinary disciples." Xiaohua nodded. "This old man understands your intentions. All of you have the ability to lead. How can you be ordinary disciples? Millions of Fortune Gate disciples should be led by someone. After my Fortune Gate's 2 sect chiefs take a look, I will make arrangements for all of you." Yes, disciples understand. Everyone ate the immortal peaches, and Xiaohua gave them cultivation technique jade slips before retreating. "Everyone." Xiaohua looked at the millions of Dawn Rain Mainland's Fortune Gate disciples and spoke. Before Xiaohua could finish, all the disciples shouted in unison, "Disciples greet Daoist Xiao." Although the greetings were the same as before, Xiaohua could still feel the passion in these disciples' hearts. "Good." Xiaohua stood up and clapped his hands, saying, "Since all of you are my Fortune Gate's disciples, this old man won't say much. Those senior brothers and martial uncles around you, as well as those powerful seniors you saw earlier, are all your role models. As long as you cultivate with peace of mind and listen to the Fortune Gate's orders, this old man can guarantee that the scene you saw in the Sky Patrol City will never happen again. Not only will you sweep across the Dawn Rain mainland, you will also sweep across the 4 continents. Disciples understand." I hope all of you will have a happy holiday and have good luck. On the day of Senior Marshal Brother Li's wedding, I will go with Fairy Hongxia to congratulate him. Li Zhongbao's face reddened, but he didn't explain himself. He glanced at Kai Zhuoxia and prepared to leave. Kai Zhuoxia nodded at Fairy Hongxia and whispered a few words to her. She smiled generously and said, I was able to be together with Zhongbao all because of Daoist Xiao. If I get married, I will definitely invite you and my sister. I will take my leave now, sister. Suddenly Fairy Hongxia, who had been silent all this time, said, I will go back with you. Ah. Kai Zhuoxia was not the only one who was caught off guard. Even Xiaohua was stunned and looked at Fairy Hongxia in confusion. Huang Mengxiang, who was next to him, hurriedly said, Brother Xiao, don't be afraid. Sister Hongxia is going, but I am here. Yeah. Xiaohua's face was livid. He ordered, tell the disciples to send fellow Daoist Huang back to Tianmen Mountain. Then Xiaohua looked at Wu Qing, Xiang Zhili and Cui Yingying, who were not far away, and said, Why are you waiting here? Hurry up and learn from Xiong Yi and Li Xiang how to deal with the affairs of the faction. Yes, yes. Xiang Zhili stuck out his tongue and didn't dare to say anything. He obediently led Wu Qing and Cui Yingying away. On the other hand, Huang Mengxiang couldn't help but become anxious when he heard Xiaohua's anger. He stomped his feet in the air and said, Big brother Xiao, I'll tell you clearly. It doesn't matter if you want me or not, I'll follow you anyway. Don't forget, I kissed you. You and I are destined to be together. Huang Mengxiang, who dared to love and hate, wanted to jump into Xiaohua's arms. Unfortunately, before she could use her magic power, Yuanya raised his hand and grabbed, imprisoning Huang Mengxiang. He agreed and flew away on a cloud. Xiaohua was a little embarrassed and said in a low voice, Hongxia, it is not what you think. Hongxia. Kai Zhuoxia also glared at Fairy Hongxia and scolded, Don't throw a tantrum. I know Daoist Master Zhao's character. I knew him much earlier than you. I believe in him. Heng Zhao was a little embarrassed. He didn't know if he should say goodbye at this time. No, sister. Fairy Hongxia looked at Xiaohua and then looked at Kai Zhuoxia. He said seriously, I believe in Xiaohua, and I love Xiaohua deeply in my heart. But the person in front of me is no longer the Xiaohua I know and love. He is Daoist Master Xiao, the Daoist Master Xiao who is the focus of attention, the Daoist Master Xiao who is worshipped by millions of cultivators. He is the #1 person in Xiaoyu continent. How can such a Daoist Master Xiao be my Dao companion? Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He looked at himself and said, Hongxia, no matter how strong I am still Xiaohua. I have not changed at all. No. Fairy Hongxia shook her head and said, That is your feeling, not mine. Fairy Hongxia took out a pink jade slip from her bosom and handed it to Xiaohua. This was personally delivered by Ling Feiyun of Misty Mountain to Huanhua sect. He said that Shui gave it to me. That day, this jade slip could not be opened. There was a layer of restriction inside. Ling Feiyun did not know what was going on. He only said that he was entrusted by someone. Later on, you suddenly disappeared. I was very anxious and tried to find out more about you. Later on, I heard that Shui and Martial Uncle Helplessness of the Imperial Thunder sect had also fallen. Only then did I suddenly think of this jade slip. When I took it out, the restriction inside had already disappeared. Xiaohua's heart ached. He took the second jade slip that Shui used her life to engrave. He used his divine sense and saw that there were not many words in the jade slip. There were only 4 verses and a line of words. Jie died in Xiao Lang's life, Lang escaped in the mist, only in the world of mortals, fate is shallow, can't meet. Sister Hongxia, I have gone. I do not regret it. For darling Xiao, I am willing to give up everything. Darling Zhao's future, I will leave it to you. I hope that you can take good care of him. Let him know that you love him as much as I do. Xiaohua's eyes became hot and tears almost fell. Darling Xiao, Fairy Hongxia said warmly, the path of human emotions is not smooth. If there are no bumps and bumps, how can it be smooth and harmonious? That year when I left you those ruthless words, it was also a moment of anger. Later on, I regretted it. But fate makes fools of people. Once you left, you did not return. For more than 700 years, I have been waiting. I have also read Xue Xue's Jade Slip countless times. I can also promise you that if there is such an opportunity, I will definitely pay the same as Xue Xue and give up my life. After all, we have both given our true love. But now you. Xiaohua was really puzzled. At this time, he truly understood what it meant to be a needle in the bottom of the sea. I rejected you not because of Huang Mingxiang. Since I can tolerate Xue Xue, I can also tolerate another person. Fairy Hongxia looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar Xiaohua and explained, I rejected you because you are no longer the Xiaohua I loved. The Xiaohua I loved only existed 700 years ago, existing only in my memories and thoughts. 700 years, ah. Fairy Hongxia couldn't help looking up at the horizon and said softly, for 700 years, I missed you every day and night. I cultivated with all my might, did my best to build the Kai family. I wanted to wait until my cultivation reached a certain level before I went to find you, to protect you, to fulfill Xue Xue's dying wish, But suddenly you came back. You came back too unfamiliar, too lofty. You have already become Taoist Xiao, that godlike existence.